was an incredible look back at the 2001 season. Very, very eventful. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. Track drying is near completion. And although Blake won't be bringing back the sunshine, we're hoping his song signals that we're getting close to the start of the race.
Everybody ready, set, go. Rev it up and let's roll. There's a party in the fast lane. Got my hands on the wheel and I'm flying. Heartbeat loud as the thunder rolls. Riding in on the stampede of lightning. I'm bringing back the sunshine. Bringing back the sunshine. Baby, it's about time. Whoa. Bring it back.
Welcome to NBCSN coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Texas Motor Speedway. Hello, everyone. Back with you again. It's Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, Rick Allen, and we're getting ready. Obviously, it's been 5 hours of track drying that have taken place here at Texas Motor Speedway. All the track workers, everyone working diligently to try to get this race underway. But with only 2 races remaining in the round of 8 and 7 drivers and their position still not secure in the championship 4, how has this rain delay affected these guys?
Well, I think it's made everybody very nervous. Anytime you're in this situation, the more you wait around, the more nervous you become. And there's some drivers that really don't want anything like this to happen. You think about Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch. They want a calm race. They don't want anything odd thrown at them. And this rubber being washed off this racetrack has done just that. It's changed what they thought they were getting into.
Yeah, you see here when the rain comes down, the track drying process basically blows the rubber off the racetrack, cleaning the racing surface that's now fresh. And why you say that's concerning for the guys that are protecting a points lead, because it brings a level of the unknown in, Rick. So when you look at, say, Carl Edwards, 32 points behind, I think he has to see this as a big opportunity. The unknown is what he needs. He's almost in a must-win situation. So the other teams trying to avoid mistakes, that might slow them down and be a little conservative. Carl Edwards, he has nothing to lose. Be aggressive and perhaps get to victory lane.
How much difference is preparing for a night race as opposed to preparing for a race that was supposed to run during the day?
Well, I would expect to see a lot of sparks early, because not only is the track going to cool and perhaps get faster, but that rubber that was cleaned off will gain grip on the racetrack. So, Jeff, these cars, these crew chiefs that have set up over this very rough racetrack all week long or all weekend long during the day, they might have to make some adjustments on that first pit stop.
Oh, they definitely will. And then on top of that, everyone is terrified of no rubber on the racetrack because of tire failure. We saw here in last year's race, a lot of people had tire failure on the green racetrack. This track was rubbered up. It's no longer. So will you pit early? If you feel a little vibration, are you going to hit pit road? This puts a lot of pressure on everybody.
And it has been a long day already for those down on pit road. But let's go down there once again for Mike Massaro.
Well, Rick, as you mentioned, there are just 3 championship bids still remaining. 4 of the drivers looking for them come from the same organization, Joe Gibbs Racing. So how will that affect the team dynamic? Well, Matt Kenseth puts it in perfect perspective. He says we'll help each other as much as possible, but when the green flag drops, it's each one of us against all the other 39 drivers. Matt Kenseth looking for a victory, the only thing that guarantees he moves on to the championship round, Kelly.
Well, after a disappointing race last week in Martinsville, Kurt Busch and this 41 team have 18 points to make up in the chase standings. Kurt told me if they can even erase half of that deficit here in Texas, they feel good moving forward to Phoenix. He calls this track his bread and butter, likes racing here. And his crew chief, Tony Gibson, told me they built a lot of adjustability into this car, anticipating this rain. Kurt Busch starts 10th, Marty.
Kelly, of all the racetracks where Kevin Harvick and his race team felt like they had to get better in the chase, Texas was pretty close to the top of the list. Why? Well, here in the spring, they did finish 10th, but Rodney Childers, his crew chief, told me we didn't run well enough, certainly, to win the race, and we deserve to be better and need to be better here in the chase. So they put a lot of effort into this race. That means they start third this afternoon. Harvick told me with the cool weather and racing at night, it's going to be a lot of speed in that racetrack. Expect also, Dave, to see a lot of sparks coming from these race cars as well.
Marty Joey Logano finished 9th last week and finds himself below the cut line of 4 to head to Miami in 2 weeks. But this weekend, the 22 has been very fast. One of the cars to watch. It qualified second on Friday, and it has certainly been fast in race trim as well. Today, Joey Logano could lock himself in for the race to Miami. Rick?
And that's what 7 drivers are hoping to do. They want to be able to join Jimmie Johnson as one of the drivers that will be guaranteed a spot in the championship 4. Again, Jimmie Johnson trying to make history, trying to join 2 of the biggest, if not the biggest names in all of auto racing. You've got Richard Petty, the King, 7 championships. Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator, also 7 championships. Jimmie Johnson, it's been 22 years since someone has won the 7th championship. Jimmie Johnson trying to become just the 3rd driver in the history of this sport to win 7 championships. The great sign is that all the drivers are strapped into their cars, anticipating those such famous words that we've been waiting nearly half a day for.
Well, I think that the waiting only makes a pressure-filled race, tougher. You kind of go to bed at night, you get into a rhythm as a team, as a driver, as a crew chief. You have your race day morning preparation, you're meeting with your team, you're ready to go. And we were so close before the rain came. Now they have to reset, calm the nerves, and do it all over again.
Drivers all strapped in. Again, a backup car for Kyle Busch after a wreck in the first practice, the first time out onto the track. Drivers are strapped in. That means it's time to fire the engines. Let's go trackside for the command.
Ladies and gentlemen, here to give the command to start engines is Senior Vice President of Marketing, Product Management, and Publications for AAA Texas, Wendy Sabins.
Drivers, start your engines!
The diehard fans have stuck around here at Texas Motor Speedway. We're glad that you're with us as well as we get ready for 500 miles in Texas.
From my experience, the more we perform in those pressure-packed moments, the better we are, the better decisions we make.
Jimmie Johnson with a very long pit stop.
Something happened. And a fuel pressure.
He's battled back. He's out front. He has punched his ticket to Homestead.
Yes, 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 yes!
Jimmie Johnson, you had him down. Now you let him up, and what's he do? He gets the ticket to Homestead.
Of 8 is continuing from Texas Motor Speedway as cars are lined up 2 by 2 on pit road, about to roll out onto the 1.5 miles here of Texas Motor Speedway. I want to take a look at the starting grid. On Friday nights, they set the field. Austin Dillon was able to win the pole, and he could join 2 other drivers that got their first win at Texas, including Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Burton.
In row 2, we have Kevin Harvick, who surprisingly has never won here at Texas with a few runner-up finishes. He'll start next to Brad Keselowski.
In row 3, we have Kyle Larson starting next to Paul Menard, who has his best start since July.
Back in row 4, it's going to be Ryan Blaney and Matt Kenseth. Kenseth, 44-year-old out of Cambridge, Wisconsin, a 2-time Texas winner.
Row 5 has a 3-time Texas winner in Carl Edwards. He'll be starting next to Kurt Busch, who won this race back in 2009.
Yeah, row 6, we have Chase Elliott, who's dealing with flu-like symptoms this weekend, starting next to Martin Truex Jr.
Back in row 7, it's Casey Mears and A.J. Allmendinger. A.J. Allmendinger finished top 10 last 3 races. That's a career best streak for him.
Row 8, we have Jamie McMurray, who'll start next to Alex Bowman, who's subbing for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Row 9, we have 2-time Texas winner Denny Hamlin starting next to Ryan Newman.
All the way back in row 10, it's Jimmy Johnson and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Jimmy Johnson, this is the worst start he has ever had at Texas, and he is a 6-time Texas winner.
Row 11, we have Eric Almirola from Tampa, Florida, starting next to Danica Patrick from Roscoe, Illinois.
Row 10, we have Tony Stewart, who got a life-size bobblehead doll right before the race, starting next to Kyle Busch.
And back in row 13, doesn't have a life-size bobblehead dog, Greg Biffle and Trevor Bayne.
Row 14, we have Clint Boyer and Michael McDowell. McDowell has 9 top 20s. That's his most ever in a season.
In row 15, we have Brian Scott starting next to Chris Buescher, who's at a hometown race from Prosper, Texas.
Back in row 16, it's Casey Kane and Regan Smith. Casey Kane actually won this race back in April of 2006.
Row 17, Jeffrey Earnhardt and Landon Castle. Jeffrey Earnhardt is filling in for Matt DiBenedetto from a concussion in yesterday's Xfinity event.
Row 18, we have Ryan Ellis starting next to David Reagan.
Back in 19, it's Michael Annett and Reed Sorensen, 2 30-year-olds.
In the final row, row 20, we have Joey Gase and Josh Wise.
Most of the cars are making their way off of pit road now as they begin to roll. Let's take this opportunity to chat with one of them, and that would be 20th Matt Kenseth.
Hey, Matt, it's Jeff Burton, NBCSN booth. You with us?
Hey, Jeff.
Well, Bud, you were planning on running this race during the day. Now it's night. How does that affect you guys?
Well, track, certainly I think it's going to be a lot different tonight than what it was during the day. Not just because of day and night, but it washed all the rubber off the track. Had 3 good days of practice and a couple of races here. So I think the track's going to change a lot. You're certainly going to gain speed, gain travel, gain tire wear, at least for a few runs here.
You mentioned tire wear. What is your concern about tire wear, and how do you feel? We talked a lot about tire issues. What do you feel in a race car when you feel like you're having an issue and need to pit early?
Well, that's tricky because you know how us drivers are. There's a lot of times we think we have issues and we pit early, and you always hate to hear about 2 laps later that everything looked fine with the tires. So that's always a tough one. You know, typically when you know something's wrong, it's too late. You know it's really wrong.
Well, Matt, thank you for letting us ride along, and good luck tonight.
Thanks. Have fun.
And you mentioned ride along. We'll ride along with a few different drivers. Take us through it, guys.
Yeah, really lucky to have these shots. Kyle Busch with a Toyota in-car camera. Also riding along with Alex Bowman is a nationwide camera.
And then in row 5, we have Kurt Busch with the Sprint onboard camera. And we just heard from Matt Kenseth starting there in row 4 with the Sunoco onboard camera.
In row 2, we have the Busch Beer camera riding with Kevin Harvick.
And then Joey Logano has a great look in row 1 with the Ford onboard camera.
And we still have a great view from high above the racetrack. Our aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods for this evening race. And we've heard a lot about sparks flying, cars traveling a little bit more, meaning that when they get into the turns, they'll smash down into the racing surface. We'll see the sparks. And as a crew chief, Steve, how do you can't really change a lot of things on these cars because they're on pit road and you're not allowed to make adjustments. So the air pressures could be down on these cars, and that means we'll see a lot more sparks.
Well, it would be, but that's something a crew chief could do. You mentioned the air pressure. Maybe just start 1 pound higher all the way around in all 4 tires. NASCAR said they're going to have a competition yellow around lap 25, depending on how long it takes here for the track to get finished up and other things. So maybe start with just a little bit more air. Not only would it help bottoming out of the race car, but also that tire wear we talked about, Jeff. A little more air pressure could actually help that right front tire, which is going to be very susceptible to damage early on these fast laps.
Let's go back.
I'm sorry, that's a compromise the teams are going to have to make, right? You want to run high air pressure to help with tire wear, but lower air pressure makes the car go faster. So one of those compromises the crew chief's going to have to make.
Let's go back to pit road, Mike Massaro. And again, the cars working their way around the track, trying to help with the drying process. Take a look at this week's Ford Drive to the Championship and the chase standings. Again, one race into the round of 8. And Jimmy Johnson with the win at Martinsville. He is guaranteed a spot in the Miami race for the championship 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to start at the bottom. Carl Edwards 32 points behind. While that's not a must-win yet, it's closing in on it. And I think some of the uncertainty, we hear all the crew chiefs, a lot of uncertainty with the track. They think they know what direction it's going to be, but we're going to have to see. But one thing good for Carl is he led 124 laps here in April after this race started around 8:30 due to a rain delay. So he's shown some speed on this type of racetrack. Will it also show the same speed tonight?
Yeah, then in 7th we have Kurt Busch, and Kurt Busch and his team, they just haven't shown the speed that you would expect. I talked to Tony Gibson last week at Martinsville. He wanted to be able to stay in their rhythm of being able to be consistent, not get backed into a corner, but 18 points back. Unless some guys in front of them have trouble, they are backed into a corner. They're going to have to stack their performance up.
Yeah, and then you have Kevin Harvick, who his numbers at Phoenix next week are unmatched. He's won 5 of the last 6. But I think their goal tonight is not make Phoenix a must-win. Run good here, perhaps a win, but just good inside the top 5. Try to get that -16 margin down to something in the single digits where perhaps, Jeff, they can manage it with a good run at Phoenix and not a must-win.
Yeah, and you mentioned Kevin Harvick, and I think there's where all the speed started, right? Joey Logano, he's sitting there in 5th. We know they have fast enough race cars. They've gotten faster as the chase has gone on also, and they've matched it with consistency. So Joey Logano and his team, I think they're feeling pretty good. The problem is the competition ahead of them is so good. They're going to have to step up if they're going to move themselves into the top 4.
Well, then you have the defending champion, Kyle Busch, just above the cut line. First car above the cut line, 4 points to the good. It started a little rocky on Friday in that backup car, as Martin Snyder reported, but it seemed to kind of come back together on Saturday. It's time for them to put that all behind them. This 18 car looked good Saturday, their backup car. Just need to go out and not try to protect those 4 points, but try to gain more and perhaps get that free advancement with the win.
And his teammate Matt Kenseth, we've seen how the Joe Gibbs teams have worked so well together, but now the pressure's starting to build. Now you know that you're not going to have 4 Joe Gibbs cars going into Homestead. Who is going to be left? Matt Kenseth, the calm, experienced guy. We talked to him before the race. You could hear how calm he is. That's how he drives, and that's how he'll continue to drive. He's going to be who he is. I don't think you'll see him step out of what their strength is, and that is speed matched with consistency.
And then the driver out of the Joe Gibbs camp that I think I have the most concern for tonight is Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin starting in the 17th position. This is the first time in the last 31 races that he's not started inside the top 10. And to be honest, just not as fast as his teammates in practice. So perhaps, Rick, he's looking forward to the fact that we have new track conditions. Maybe that's what this FedEx office car needed, was something different, because yesterday or during the day, it didn't look like it had everything worked out.
And then, of course, we have Jimmy Johnson, who's trying to win a 7th championship. And he's saying, you boys have a good time the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna learn. That's all I have to do is learn, get better, improve as a race team, improve pit stops, improve strategy, improve as a driver. We know we're going to Homestead. We are the only ones in this race tonight that knows is going to go for a championship in Homestead.
You mentioned notes from the previous race here at Texas Motor Speedway. As we flash back to that race, Kyle Busch obviously would like the race to run the same as it did back in April when he came to pit road. Martin Truex Jr. decided to stay out, but those fresh tires worked very well for Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I can argue another car that would love to see the same type of conditions of the 78, why he didn't win the race. He had a dominant car, and really, as you mentioned it, Rick, it came down to that pit decision that really cost the 78 the race.
Who's going to celebrate in victory lane tonight? That will be the big question. Can it be Kyle Busch, who potentially could lock himself into the championship 4 and try to defend his championship from a year ago? Marty.
Adam Stevens is hoping for the Texas sweep this weekend, no doubt about it. So, Adam, that April race run completely at night. So does this rain out or pushing the race to the evening maybe play in your favor?
Well, I think it does a little, but the wild card here is we weren't planning on this. So setup's actually kind of migrated back close to how we ran in April. We have a lot of adjustability built into our car, which was the key to the race last time. Hopefully that'll play into our favor.
It's been a crazy weekend for your race team. The wreck early on Friday, and then the qualifying issue with the water leaking out. Have you ever been through a weekend like this, Adam?
Not in recent memory, but it's weekends like this you can really see what you and your team are made out of, and hopefully we'll bounce back strong tonight.
You kind of called the team together Saturday morning. What did you say to the guys to kind of rally them?
Well, it's just trying to put things into perspective. You know, we had to overcome a lot more than this in the chase last year, and everything that we've had up to this weekend is before the race. It has no bearing on our finish today. We still brought a good backup car, and we're going to get after it tonight.
Is there a way to guess how much this track will change throughout the evening, Adam?
It's going to be unlike a race we've seen in recent memory here, especially with the green racetrack and the lack of rubber now and the temps dropping. It's going to be pretty wild.
And these crew chiefs certainly making their money tonight on top of the pit box, Dave.
With Mike Wheeler now, and Wheel, as the jet dryer goes by to make your pit stall dry, which I know you appreciate, the changing weather conditions and the green racetrack. You guys worked so hard to get your car in a raceable condition at the end of yesterday. What does this do for you?
Well, we'll all find out together. First one will be a little bit different for sure. I'm hoping after about 25, 50 laps, the track will come back to what it was in half the hour. We'll have something to work with again like we had in half the hour.
All right, we hope that works out for you, Mike.
Jason Ratcliffe, the crew chief for Matt Kenseth, the other Joe Gibbs Racing crew chief. Matt talked a little bit in pre-race about how this is going to change your tire wear. What are you concerned about as it relates to that?
Well, I think, you know, we're supposed to get a competition caution about 25 laps in. But I feel like the track, you know, it widens out here. You can run, you know, from the top to the bottom. And so I think the excessive tire wear will not only be on the first set, but we could see it for a couple, 2 or 3 sets. So we'll have to be mindful of it if we're getting some long green flag runs. You know, just be mindful of not running too long and getting ourselves in trouble.
How does it change your game plan, your race strategy, not knowing exactly what you're racing till, halfway or beyond that?
Well, we'll keep an eye on the radar. I mean, it's we watch it most of the day, and it's been spot on. So it looks like we got some rain about 70 miles out. Doesn't look like it's moving too fast. So I think we'll at least get to halfway, but it could get exciting. Could see a lot of different strategies once we get there.
Well, Kelly, Jason, just like the rest of the crew chiefs up and down pit road, taking into consideration every variable that could dictate how this race plays out.
They certainly are. Jimmy Johnson's won here so many times. Probably seen a lot of different scenarios, Chad Knaus. Anything quite like this, though?
We've had some late races here, that's for sure, but it's interesting getting out there and getting the track right up. I'm encouraged. I think it's going to be a great race. Obviously, this is always a fun racetrack, and to run under the lights tonight is going to be exciting.
What kind of car do you anticipate having for the start of this one?
You know, Jimmy's really good around here about just kind of finding his way and feeling it out at the start. That's probably what we're going to do, especially until we get the competition caution. Just be cautious and try to understand what the track's going to do. I would anticipate the track probably being a little bit freer, being green, and being a lot cooler than what we had the other day. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
What do you hope to learn here tonight that could potentially help you in a couple weeks when you get to Homestead?
Yeah, there's a lot to be gained, actually. This is it's the same tire package that we've got here that we're going to be racing in Homestead in a couple of weeks. The way the tire fall off is here is actually similar to what we have at Homestead. It's a coarse aggregate. The tires really wear out quickly. So whatever you have tonight is probably going to be an indication of what you have going into Homestead.
All right, they've already got the win to put them in through the championship, but still a lot to be gained, Rick.
Thanks, Kelly. We were listening in just moments ago to the 22 of Joey Logano and some team communication. Listen in.
So I can't be him to the line, but what if he spins the hell out of his tires? Like, what happens then? I say he spins the crap out of them to the point that like, I have to go, and I beat him to the line, then what? Yeah, that's what I thought.
And that's a great question. I know, Jeff, you were just talking about that. What is the actual rule? On the initial start of the race, the leader of the race is supposed to get to the start-finish line before the second-place car.
Yeah, and Joey Logano's just got to do everything in his power not to beat Austin Dillon. And the reason that question came up is because the track's still a little bit damp, but also Texas Motor Speedway is famous for spinning the rear tires on the front straightaway, taking the green. The car's going straight, but you still spin the tires. It's one of the more difficult racetracks to get launched in the restart area. So two things, dampness, but also it is a Texas problem.
Well, you mentioned Texas Motor Speedway. We don't have to look back a long ways. We can look at just yesterday's Xfinity race, how difficult this front straightaway is. And remember, these cars have less power. So arguably, it's easier to get the rear tires to hook up. You see spinning tires on the front of the inside line. The 16 of Ryan Reed here makes contact with the car in front right there. Some pretty heavy contact affected a little bit of the cooling of that car.
Yeah, this is just something we see at Texas every time we come here. And it's, you know, most mile and a half, we see the leader always take the outside. because going through the corner, you want to be on the outside to take the air off the car that's underneath you. But here, the leader most time takes the bottom, because the bottom is better for accelerating to turn 1. So it's just it's a Texas thing, man. It's just, you heard Shaq and House talking about the roughness of the racetrack, and that all lends into it.
Teams have been told we're about 8 laps away from the green flag flying, so we'll take a quick break and be back for the start of the AAA Texas 500.
It is a speedway with swagger.
These drivers know what's at stake, the most pressure they've faced in their careers.
This is the place where fists have flown, faces have been bloody.
You are the no goodness mother I've ever met.
You got to raise your game. Everybody's going to, and you just got to raise it more than the other person.
Welcome back. Track drying continuing, and right now it's focused really on the quad oval, right? To just past the start-finish line, there are 4 or 5 jet dryers that are working on that one area, and NASCAR has told them that we're about ready to go green. And just a reminder, that competition caution isn't going to come out until around lap 25. When we expect this to go green, they will have gone around the track almost 23 laps. So the 23 laps of under caution, obviously not nearly as much expensive fuel for these caution laps, but then the 25 laps once they go green will obviously take quite a bit of fuel. The thing is about a competition caution, the rule is you cannot come to pit road and add fuel prior to the competition caution. You can come to pit road and make adjustments to your car. You just cannot add fuel prior to the competition caution.
Yeah, and basically they do that because they don't want they want the competition yellow to be not a required pit stop, but they want to really encourage the teams to pit, take the tires off and look at the tires. And if they allowed you to have the ability to put fuel in before, the gamesmanship on pit road would begin very early to try to gain an advantage.
Marty.
Well, Rick, a lot of times when rain comes in, we'll have electrical gremlins that crop up, and that's the case for Kevin Harvick and his race team. Kevin is having a tough time hearing the team on the backstretch on his radio, and the team can't hear him when he communicates from the backstretch. So for now, all the communication, at least on this first run, is going to have to be on the front stretch. He can hear a spotter, and he can hear Rodney Childers when he's on the front stretch. So Aaron Kuhn, the interior guy, is going to reach inside the car right there and right below the bush and Jimmy John's logos is where the radios are, and he's going to replace the antenna. They think it's on the radio that the antenna has an issue for Kevin Harvick. They're worried it might be the roof antenna that might have gotten some water into it. They cannot replace that in the middle of the race, but if it is indeed the antenna on the physical radio inside the race car, they can fix that during a pit stop. So they're going to try and fix that on this first stop when we do get that competition caution. But Steve, you know, little gremlins like this, things crop up when the rain comes, and when you're battling for a championship, you need everything to go clean. Not a clean start so far for these guys.
Yeah, and communication is so important, because what's been very consistent with every crew chief we've talked to, Rick, is change. This track is going to change, and as it changes, Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick are going to have to be able to have clear, concise conversation about that, and communication issues are just so frustrating for a race team.
Speaking of crew chiefs, we've got more from the crew chiefs. Dave, I believe, was the crew chief of the 3.
That is Slugger Labby. And Slugger, here we are getting close to 8 Eastern, on the East Coast anyway. What's on your mind as we get ready to go here?
Well, right here in front of our pit stall, you can see, Dave, it's still awful wet. They got to go over it again. They missed it, unfortunately, but I'm surprised we haven't gone yellow-green. We're working lap 18. It's going to be a long night for sure, but I'm really proud of everyone on the team. Realtree, Bad Boy Buggies, Dow Chevrolet. We brought a brand new package here again, so thanks to everyone at RCR and ECR for busting their tails for us and having a lot of speed this weekend. So just excited. We tightened up. We kind of guessed it was going to rain, and we kind of threw some things at it different than we would for a day race. So hopefully we made the right decisions. Hopefully it pays off here, but at least we get a chance to race tonight and not tomorrow.
Once they get the track completely dry. Kelly?
Ed Johnston is the crew chief on the 42 car. His driver, Kyle Larson, won the Xfinity Series race here yesterday. How competitive of a car do you feel like you'll have for this night race?
We were pretty fast during practice during the day. I think the good thing is it was overcast pretty much all the practice, so shouldn't be as big a difference as it normally would be. So hopefully the top comes in or the middle, and we've got some multiple grooves, and you know, we've got pretty good track position to start. We can keep it throughout the day, and we'll race all 334 laps and have some at the end.
All right, we know his driver likes to run that high line. He starts 5th.
Kelly, back in the spring, the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. led 141 laps. The difference, tire strategy that night. Tires again will be a factor here, especially with a green flag, a green racetrack. What will the tire strategy have to be like?
You're just going to take them as much as you can. I mean, the fall off, you know, pretty high. So I think as even as many caution laps as we ran right now, I think we'd probably come get them at this point.
And the 78 has been dominant on 1.5 miles throughout the course of the year. No reason to expect they won't be good again here tonight.
And we heard from Slugger Labbe mentioning the green-yellow. The race can actually start with a green-yellow, which means the laps are being counted. The pace car is going to stay out on the racetrack, where the cars will go at a cautious pace or pit road speed pace around the track, but the laps will start to be counted, and that's in a situation where potentially rain could be coming a little bit later. They want to make sure that the track is dry, and normally they will have communication with the drivers who are on the track, and the drivers will all say, yes, I believe the racing surface is ready to be raced on. They will all say, you know, thumbs up, we're ready to go, and that's when they will get rid of the caution, and we will do the green flag racing.
Yeah, they actually ran the first 10 laps of the spring race back in 14 under those conditions, so it's something we've seen here at Texas. And then you heard Cole Pearn on the 78. You know, tire strategy, it's not just when do you need to put the tires on, because there's so much fall off. You're going to want to put tires on every caution, but 500 miles can be very difficult to manage with only 12 sets for the race. Why that seems like an abundance of tires, Jeff, they can start to run short very quickly.
You get a string of cautions and you roll through those 12 really quickly. So if you get those cautions, the problem is if you get them late in the race, how do you plan for that? When you get them early, it's easy to start planning, but when they come late, it makes it difficult on the crew chief.
So we've heard all these different crew chiefs talk about adjustability built in their race car. They're thinking the track's going to go one direction or the other. One thing we continue to talk about is the speed, and it's going to be very high because of this green racetrack. Well, on a bumpy surface, Jeff, what that speed brings is bottoming out. We see here Austin Dillon bottoming out the front of his car. Some sparks comes out of it. The 18 of Kyle Busch, also some big sparks right here as he goes over the bumps. So you can make some small adjustments with air pressure, but we go in our NASCAR Heat Evolution animation and we talk about bump stops. That's basically what's on the front of the car to limit the travel. Right here is the right front bump stop. So a bigger adjustment a crew chief can make, as you see, as the suspension travels, that is what limits the travel. Well, they add a shim, and it limits the front travel, getting it a little higher off the racetrack, Jeff. With the cooler temperatures, that might be needed.
Yeah, with the cooler temperatures, it just has so much more force on the car. You're going faster, there's more grip, so it puts the car in the racetrack more, and you may have to put shims on it. Teams don't want to.
No.
So they don't want to have to do that, but if your car is traveling more than anticipated, you have to do it.
And again, they continue to roll around the track, trying to put a little heat in the track. We were listening into Kurt Busch and the 41 team just moments ago.
No, I would say we're good because we got heat and everything. The rest of the track is improving, and the tires have enough warmth in them. And if we have an early yellow, we'll see. But I think we're pretty square here.
There's still a couple jet dryers that are on pit road, making a few last passes to try to dry the pit road area, but now on the racetrack it looks to be all clear, with the exception of right at pit entrance. There is still a jet dryer working pit entrance on the track, but that's the only place right now that a jet dryer is on the racing surface. Want to check out the Ram Guts and Glory for this race.
Yeah, we're going to have pit strategy. It's going to matter. We just talked about it. When are you going to take tires? They're going to want tires every caution, but do they have enough tires to take whenever they want to?
Yeah, and then the glory is victory lane, and that's everyone's goal. But it's going to be what crew chiefs, what teams, what drivers can make the shift. This rain has turned this day race into a night race. It's going to be fast. It's going to be tough on tires. And you've heard every driver and every crew chief talk about the track is going to go through swings. They're going to have to make adjustments.
We're hearing that it's going to be one to go when they come around next time by, and we will start green yellow, so that means that they will continue to be under green or yellow flag conditions, but they will start counting the laps. So once it goes green yellow, they will start to count the laps of the 334 scheduled for this race.
And Rick, I think NASCAR's really kind of forced into this situation. We've run 23 pace laps so far, so You know, if you figure it's about half to 1, it's a pretty simple ratio. So that's about 12 to 13 laps, green flag worth of fuel. So with a fuel run, in, you know, roughly in the mid-50s, I mean, you're not quite 25%, but you're starting to burn, you know, enough fuel that NASCAR has to start scoring these laps.
We just heard from Kurt Busch and what he thought about the track. Let's listen in to Jimmy Johnson and what he thinks.
Still some shadows down there, but we're never down there. Off of 4. Restart zone could be, that's okay. There's some light shadows coming back, but I think acceptable. Out of the D on the front stretch, there's a couple shadows that are still a little wet.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson talking about shadows because that's really what it looks like. It looks like shadows on the racetrack. It's not this, you know, this very clear, oh my goodness, this is a wet part of the racetrack from a driver's standpoint. That's what it looks like. It looks like shadows, just a little bit different color on the asphalt. So he was very descriptive where they were and where it didn't matter. Like you mentioned, turn 4. It's so low off of turn 4. He said it's wet there, but it doesn't matter. You're never going to be there anyway. So that's good information from Jimmy Johnson.
And again, all the drivers are giving feedback to their crew chief, spotters. Spotters are trying to help out, making sure that they're made aware of certain areas on the track.
Yeah, you know, we talk about compromises all the time in this sport, and this is one of those compromises about this racetrack. Everybody loves this racetrack because the asphalt's worn out. It's rough. It's very difficult. It's multiple groove. But the fact that it's older makes it harder to drive.
Right.
You know, the drying process just takes longer. Kentucky had rained there earlier this year, and it dried in like an hour. Brand new asphalt. So teams and drivers and tracks, they don't want to pave the racetrack because the racing's great. It's fun. It's multiple groove. But these older racetracks just take a little bit longer to drive.
It's officially started. The green and yellow being waved. And so this is the first lap of 334. Once again, I'm sure everyone in the grandstands is excited to the fact that there are cars on the track. The green flag is definitely waving and underway. Obviously, the pace of this one, not what they were hoping for initially. But as we continue on and the track drying is getting very, very close, we know that we're just moments away from actually some green flag racing. Again, the cars working their way all the way around the racetrack. They ran 23 laps around the track before the green yellow was displayed. Once again, we heard from Slugger Labby. He's right down there in the #1 pit stall, and he had mentioned that there was a little bit of what looked like an area that might be a little damp in front of their pit stall on the racetrack, and so the jet drivers are working that area right now. As soon as they make the pass through that, we would hope that a few passes have been made already on pit road, but we would hope that they will be able to see the green flag and we'll get up to speed. And again, remember, the speeds at this racetrack on a green racetrack where it's got a lot of grip will definitely be closing in on 200 miles an hour as they're entering turn #1.
Yeah, the grip level is going to be high. And I think it actually gets a little more difficult when you get 5 or 10 laps in and then the grip is still available if you move off the bottom, because that grip is that fresh, cleaned off asphalt. And what's good for the driver to feel is tough for the tire to hold on to.
And again, green-yellow conditions right now at Texas Motor Speedway. They continue to dry the track. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. A race that was supposed to get underway just after 1 o'clock local is now going to be under the lights and the moonlights high above this 1.5-mile racetrack in Fort Worth, Texas. NASCAR Race View gives you access to features that let you follow your favorite driver like you're at the track. You get live stats, leaderboard, driver and team communications, and more, all on your devices. It's available now for an all-new low price when you visit NASCAR.com/raceview. Want to listen into 41 radio as it went green-yellow. They're having a little fun.
Does that mean proceed with caution? Where you can pass guys? I don't know. You got one working the top on you right there. Yes, off the 4 in the middle. Back to single file on the exit. Clear right now.
So spotters, driver having a little fun. They have been cooped up for the past 5 hours, so I can see that they're probably anxious to get behind the wheel and out on the track. In non-racing story, let's go to Dave on the 11 team.
Well, Rick, you can imagine all of us working here. Can't wait to get home to see our families, but it's even more so a situation for Caleb Hurd, the gas man for Denny Hamlin's number 11 car. Caleb's wife, Courtney, gave birth to the couple's second child this week, but it was very, very early. Baby Kate is going to spend the next few weeks in ICU for little ones, if you will. Right now, though, his wife, Courtney, has been sent home. She was good. They took the baby early for the health of the mom, so she's been able to go home. But Caleb was sent to the track by his wife. She said, get out of here, go to work. You need to get away for a while. You were here for the birth. Now go away, do your job, and then come back. But he can't wait to get home to see that little baby and to be close again to his family. We're all feeling that, Caleb especially here.
Yeah, prolonged the trip back home to see those little ones, little one.
Yeah, Caleb, him and his wife, they're really, really great people. Caleb worked with me side by side. We were teammates, and then foreman when I became a crew chief at Hendrick Motorsports, a long-standing employee there, has moved over to Joe Gibbs Racing as an engineer. Very good fueler on pit road. A natural athlete. Actually was the holder at Virginia Tech for one of their bowl games. So him and actually Shane Graham, the NFL kicker, are good friends. So he's really was started that movement on pit road where someone comes in and he was an engineer, but he had that ability, that ability from other sports, and he kind of raised the bar for that position that you now could fill it with athletes.
And we're seeing 2x2. Again, working their way around the track. We're under green-yellow conditions, meaning these laps are counting. So Austin Dillon has led 4 laps already and will lead 2 more before we believe the yellow flag will be lifted and they will be up to speed. We'll take a quick break. And the cars are lined up 2x2. The pace car has its lights off, meaning he will make the hard left turn onto pit road, putting the field in the hands of Austin Dillon, who won the first ever pole for Richard Childress Racing here at Texas Motor Speedway. Joey Logano will start on the outside. It's been over 5 hours. They've been waiting for this. The green flag is in the air in Texas.
You saw Joey Logano contest the position because this wasn't an initial start. This was actually a restart, and he's going to really contest the position down into turn 1, right on the quarter panel of that 3 of Austin Dillon.
Dillon wants to lead this lap as they're up to speed now. Dillon has the shorter way around the racetrack on the bottom of the track. We'll see if it works for him. Joey Logano clears him through 3 and 4.
Immediately, we talked about how fast this racetrack is. You can see it. These cars are going right at 200 miles an hour entering these corners. Exceptionally fast racetrack. All the Sparks cars bottoming out.
Again, you increase speeds, increase the travel, meaning those cars are going to slam into the racetracks when they go through the turns.
And these speeds are going to be high. You can see right here the 19 of Carl Edwards aggressively gets inside the 21 of Ryan Blaney there.
Up to speed. Competition caution from NASCAR is going to be around lap 28. But again, cars can come to pit road prior to that competition caution. They just cannot add fuel.
Yeah, right now, talking about the speed of this racetrack, Joey Logano ran a 27.96. The pole was a 28 flat. So in race trim, the fastest speed was faster than the pole.
It's only, what, 193 miles an hour average?
Averaging 193 miles an hour, and it wasn't over an hour ago that this track was wet. 2 and 3 wide for position as Kurt Busch is going to tuck in behind the 21 of Ryan Blaney. Chase Elliott again, flu-like symptoms for the driver of the 24 as we see a move by the 4 of Kevin Harvick trying to get by Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick jumped up in the outside lane. We talked about that before the race started. Who was going to be the first guy to jump up in the outside? You saw he used the outside, but then immediately went back to the bottom. The outside is going to be the preferred line on older tires, but it's also going to create higher wear at this point in the race. So Kevin used it, but then we're right back to the bottom.
Yeah, well, why is that? Well, look off the rear bumper of Kevin Harvick right here. You can about see tire tracks. These cars in the bottom groove are leaving tire tracks. The asphalt is so clean.
And guys, remember they have that radio issue for Kevin Harvick. They cannot hear him when he's on the backstretch, and he has trouble hearing the crew. Front stretch is fine. They think that's a product of the rain earlier today. Here's the transmission for Rodney Childers to Kevin Harvick as to what he needs to do on the next stop.
Kevin, the screw part will stay in that radio. The part that screws down in the radio will stay. The wire part will has like a cam lock type deal on it. You'll just pop that off of the top of that, and then stick a regular antenna on it.
So those are instructions. They're going to hand Kevin an antenna through the window on this next stop, and he's got to do the work himself. Jeff, tough to do at 200 miles an hour, but he's going to be able to do it under caution. But how much of a challenge is that for the driver to find all that and then make the right adjustment?
Well, I think what he'll have to do is he'll have to try to wait till he leaves pit road. There's a lot going on while the pit stop is happening. And again, I don't think that that's going to fix their problem. It may make it better because he'll have an antenna on top of the radio, but that antenna is not exposed. It won't be in the line of sight that you really need for an antenna to work, but it could work better than the antenna on the roof if that roof antenna is broken.
See Matt Kenseth looking to the inside of Paul Menard. Paul Menard with RCR, another great starting position for the RCR cars. Austin Dillon had the pole. He's dropped back to second. Paul Menard was holding on to sixth. Trying to keep that as we see the 19 of Carl Edwards moving to the inside now.
Paul Menard looks loose to me. It looks like his car is, you see the back of the car moving around a lot in the middle of the corner.
He's up the racetrack running in that middle groove now. Dave.
Guys, you mentioned the fact that it was a restart when we went green here. Joey Logano, the leader, made sure that that was the case, because the rule is if he happened to get a good start, second in qualifying, and beat the pole sitter, the three of Austin Dillon, to the line, if it was the initial start, he would have gotten a penalty. But in this case, it was very close, and he knew that if he did get a good launch, that he would actually be okay. So he knew that before it started. Right now, his car is very tight, led most of the laps so far.
And let's look again at that. I mean, that was very heads up of Joey Logano to know that rule and not want to have a problem with it. But again, it was a restart when they came to the green here.
Yeah, you can see just, what was that, 2 feet?
Yeah.
3 feet. But NASCAR has made that call on the initial start of the race. They've made that call even though it was 1 or 2 feet. So on a restart, no, not a big deal. But on the initial start, that would have been a problem.
And times before, NASCAR has said you got to give it back. You got to give that position back if somebody does get in front of the race leader at the initial start of the race. And so Joey Logano, though, has taken over the race lead from Austin Dillon. Kevin Harvick running in the 3rd spot. Brian Keselowski is 4th. Matt Kenseth 5th. Carl Edwards, Paul Menard, Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, the top 10. 18 laps complete. NASCAR has let us know that around approximately lap 28 will be a competition caution as Ryan Blaney on the bottom of the track, Paul Menard in the middle, and here comes Alex Bowman with a big run on the outside of the 88.
Yeah, it didn't take long. You saw Ryan Blaney move up and get some real look at the big run of the 88. He's going to clear the 27 and get inside the 21, but here's the problem.
Up the racetrack he goes. Can he hang on to it? He does.
He tried to slide up in front of the 21, but Ryan Blaney has moved up the racetrack.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney saw the 88, what kind of run he got in the middle of 1 and 2 on the top. So Ryan Blaney said, that's where I'm going.
Way up the racetrack they went. And a lot of speed up there, but obviously a little bit of handling issue for the 88 of Alex Bowman. He almost got into that 21.
Yes, he did. I think the 21 being right on the right rear quarter panel pulled a little bit of air off that 88 and got him loose. And they both did a good job managing that situation. Hey, guys, it's only lap 19. 3:15 to go.
Alex Bowman has made up 8 spots since the start of this race. Joey Logano has led 14.
NASCAR is brought to you by the Mercedes-Benz Metris. Only the Metris stacks up. A mid-size commercial van from Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz vans born to run.
25 laps complete from Texas Motor Speedway. And again, that is including a few to start off this race that were green-yellow. See the 55 and 22. 55 about to go a lap down as Joey Logano has already put Jeffrey Earnhardt, Ryan Ellis, Joey Gase, and Josh Wise a lap down. Now looking to put Reed Sorensen a lap down, and does. Closing in on the competition caution. Marty.
Rick, I just did check in with Kevin Harvick's race team, and they did accidentally leave off the roof antenna on that 4-car. So, Steve, what kind of problems is that going to cause for today? And if he puts the antenna on top of the radio, is it going to be enough to clear up the communications for the remaining laps here this afternoon?
Well, that's exactly right. So how this system works is the radio's inside the race car, and there's basically a wire that goes all the way up to the roof with an exposed antenna. Much like your radio antenna on your car, it's outside the car to get good signal when you're all the way over in the backstretch. So what Rodney Childers' instructions were to Kevin Harvick is, hey, unhook the wire that goes to the permanent radio antenna and just put a standard antenna, like your scanner when you sit in the stands, or a walkie-talkie antenna. Put that antenna on, and that will definitely help the broadcast and the transmission, but it may not be enough from the pit box to the backstretch.
And you wonder, how could the team forget to put it on? Well, that antenna's got to come off to put the car cover on. So when we saw that rain, one of the things NASCAR allows the teams to do is reinstall that antenna. The cover came off. The antenna just was never reinstalled.
They forgot to reinstall the antenna.
So basically, the antenna that we're discussing, it's basically on the roof. The location actually is determined by NASCAR. You're not allowed to put it. So the camera is the bigger area right here. You see a little circle. That's kind of the base where the antenna would screw onto, but there's no antenna on there, just the base. Where if you look at the 14 car, you see right here, there's not just the base, but the antenna itself screwed on. That's the difference between the 14 and the 4, and that is the radio issues for Kevin Harvick.
And the competition caution has come out. Free pass is going to go to the 55 of Reed Sorensen. That is the highest scored car, at least one lap down. Lead lap cars will be able to come to pit road first. Again, Joey Logano out in front. Austin Dillon second. Kevin Harvick third with radio issues. They're going to try to rectify that situation. At least make it a little bit better. You see some rubber already going down on the track. The hot tires are going to pick up some of that rubber as they go around. But now on this stop, they will be able to come to pit road, make adjustments to the car, and add fuel. And this stop is going to be big as far as tire wear. The crew chiefs are going to want to know exactly how the tires are wearing on this very green racetrack.
Yeah, it's not going to take long for these drivers to get out of the pit box. We're going to see every crew chief on pit road off the pit box. They're going to want to see these tires themselves. The driver's going to be asking on the radio. It's important for them to understand how they look, so they kind of know, Jeff, as a driver, you know how hard you push your car, and you want that information.
That's right. In some racetracks, for the caution this early, you might see some 2 tires. I don't think so here. I think everybody's going to do 4 to understand where they are.
Heading on to pit road. Here they come, Mike.
Jeff's point, Rick, all I'm hearing is 4 tire changes here down here. Matt Kenseth coming in looking for a 4 tire change, says when the tires get warm, the car gets a little bit pitchy. They're going to make a 4 tire change, air pressure and wedge. Meanwhile, Carl Edwards, another 4 tire change there, just a little bit loose in and free off. Marty?
Kevin Harvick says his car is tight in the center, but you see Aaron Kuhn reaching in. He is the interior mechanic on the 4 car, handing Kevin that antenna, actually trying to do the change himself, so Kevin doesn't have to worry about it. He gives a thumbs up to Rodney Childers that he made the change and got the antenna on. 4 tires and a wedge adjustment, Dave.
Joey Logano took 4 Goodyear tires, got a load of Sunoco fuel, and had a wedge adjustment for a car that was a little bit tight on that first run, Rick.
That was a big problem right there. Almost for the 6, it looked like, of Trevor Bayne on pit road. Race off pit road brought to you by Geico. So Kevin Harvick gains a spot. Austin Dillon is going to lose a position, but the 6, Trevor Bayne, stopped on pit road, then backed up. While all the traffic was around him, he had missed his spot, and very close call by quite a few cars trying to get to their pit stalls. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway and Sprint Cup Series racing in the great state of Texas. Want to take a look at the 4 pit stop. I know that you guys had mentioned an extra guy coming over to try to work on the radio.
Yeah, well, Rodney Childers was telling Kevin Harvick how to work on how to do it, but what they decided to do was send an extra man over to actually make the change. He knows the interior better than anybody else, so they sent the guy over there, knew exactly where everything was. He did the work himself. Kevin didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, that was nice work by the crew member to get that done.
And he gave a thumbs up after that was done. Let's listen in to the 4 radio now.
Check over everything, make sure Beef got it on right. Try with Kevin. Yeah. Simple. I sound any better? Much better, much better. Yeah, it's a lot better.
2x2 once again. Logano and Harvick making up row number 1. Green flag back in the air. Great restart for Logano. And Logano's teammate Brad Keselowski using that high line as the sparks continue to fly. Kevin Harvick's going to lose second, but he fights back on the inside, trying to keep it.
Those cars, when they bottom out, the drivers can feel it, they can hear it, they just have to ignore it. There's nothing they can do about it. As long as it's not upsetting the car, making the car drive badly, you just have to deal with it.
It's always interesting, though. You saw how many sparks we had in the first corner, and now just a lap in, they start to be reduced because A, the air pressures come up, and then B, though, they're slowing down. I mean, they're already have slowed down a little bit of speed. In the first run of the race, we saw almost 20 miles an hour on the lap average from the fastest lap to the slowest lap of that first run of the race.
Kevin Harvick has never won at Texas in a Cup Series. Joe Logano out front, Harvick running second. Keselowski, Dillon, Carl Edwards, the top 5. Edwards in a position. Coming in, he was 32 points behind the cut line. And this just the second race of the round of 8, needing a great finish or a win if he wants to have an opportunity to run in the championship 4 at Miami. Marty.
Rick, we saw that extra man go over for Kevin Harvick and his race team. Rodney Childers and the team did make sure from NASCAR that they could send that extra person over. The extra person was Aaron Kuhn, as we mentioned during the pit stop. He's the interior mechanic on the 4 car. And Steve, you know that the interior mechanic knows the inside of that race car better than anyone. But amazing that not only were they able to get that antenna on, they gained a spot on pit road during that stop as well. So an impressive work by the 4 team to get all that done. But the interior mechanic can make it happen and make it happen very quickly.
And Marty, a wise decision by Rodney Childers and this team to check with NASCAR, because that 7th man, the determination of his role and responsibility is to service the driver, not to work on the race car. You can't have him pull fenders. He could clean the windshield and he could service the driver. So working on the radio to aid the driver, it's a NASCAR call. They apparently, as you reported, they asked and got a response that was allowed, and Aaron did a nice job not needing the driver really to do anything.
It's best. Let the guy that knows what he's doing, let him do it. They know that there's nobody knows those interior of the cars the way that guy does. That's his job. That's everything he does is about making sure the interior of that car, everything is done properly, and they're so good at it.
And he did it more or less blindfolded, because he wasn't able to look into the car. Yeah. He just reached in. His head was facing forward. He looked in or looked out and used his right hand, was able to get that antenna affixed to the radio. And so right now it is Kevin Harvick who's able to hear his spotter and crew chief now, even on the backstretch. Kyle Busch trailing the 1 of Jamie McMurray. Kyle started the race in 24th, has already made his way up to 13th. Most recent winner was able to get to victory lane in April. It was his 2nd Texas win for Kyle Busch.
I think one thing we need to keep in mind also, we're seeing Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin kind of toward the back of the field. You would expect these cars to be in the front. I wouldn't get worried just yet. This racetrack is going to go through some major changes. Some guys that are running in the front right now, they might have to work on their cars to stay in the front a lot more than you would think. Went from a green racetrack to what's going to be a very rubbered up racetrack. These guys in the back, although they don't think they have the speed now, that could change as the racetrack changes.
And Jeff, one of the things they always need are quick pit stops. And for the 11 team, one of the ways to get that is to not have to make chassis adjustments. Sometimes that costs them time on pit road. So for that first stop, it was just an air pressure adjustment for Denny Hamlin, whose car would enter the corner a little bit loose in the rear end, but a little bit tight, hard to turn coming off of the corner.
Ryan Blaney, another driver searching for his first win in the Sprint Cup Series, has the yellow stripe on the back bumper of that 21 Wood Brothers famous number 21 car. Blaney, one of the future stars of the Sprint Cup Series at the age of 22 from High Point, North Carolina. Ryan Blaney currently in the 15th position. Marty.
Rick, has been a methodical move through the field for Kyle Busch. Started 24th today, and there you see him moving up through the field, and 19th right now. Actually, he's a little further up than that, isn't he, guys? But right now, he said it feels like the right side of the car currently 13th. The splitter just isn't into the ground like it should be. And he said the left side, Jeff, and maybe you can describe this, he has to kind of dive it in the corner. And if he dives and attacks the corner, it turns better for him. So he's having to attack each corner probably a little bit more than he would like, because you want to save some tire here at Texas if you can. But slowly working his way through the field. No panic in his voice, because he just told Adam Stevens a moment ago, kind of feels like it did in the spring, and that worked out pretty well for him that evening. They went on to victory lane.
Yeah, we just talked about it. It's a long race and a lot of time to go. So one of the things right now, he talked about having to dive into the corner to get the car to turn. What he's talking about is he's got to get the left side tires on that white line sooner than he wants to. So as he enters turn 3, he turns and he gets those the tires to the line, as opposed to staying out against the wall and turning later and getting to the bottom later. If you can do that, then it helps your corner exit. So he's having to pinch the car out, turn it too soon, and that hurts his exit as well.
We're seeing almost everyone running down along that white line, but during practice over the weekend, we saw cars run right up against the wall. How long until we see guys venture up there and try that high line?
Well, 13 laps into this run, I expect to see cars move up relatively soon, because as the cars slow down around the bottom of the racetrack, they can make lap time up around the wall. So you look at Kyle Busch, lap 37, brand new tires, a 29.40. Basically 9-10 laps later, he's at a 30.68, over a second of a lap slower. So at some point, you have to get off the bottom. I think they know the top is faster, but it's still early. As Jeff said, 287 laps to go. Kyle Busch, as important as it is to pass cars, it's more important to make sure he extends that tire life and doesn't have any issues.
Kelly.
Kyle's older brother, Kurt Busch, came into this race 18 points below the cut line, and his message to his team before we went green was stay smooth, stay smart, stay warm. He reminded them what a long race this is, but he said if we have a good night tonight, we could be moving forward. Well, to start this race, Kurt's car was plowing tight, but then it started to come around. He said it was getting a little bit loose, and to end that first run, he said he was on a scale of 1 to 5, about a 2 tight entering the turns and about a 2 loose exiting him. They made an air pressure adjustment when he came down to pit road on that competition caution.
As we look at the ghost points on the left side of the screen, the 41 highlighted 16 points below the cut line. So Kurt Busch in need of a great finish as well at Texas Motor Speedway. NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion. You can select your in-car video or camera angle, access integrated driver stats, lap-by-lap commentary, and social conversation, all in real time. You won't miss a lap when you visit NASCAR.com/drive on your personal computer now. Welcome back to the AAA Texas 500. Up front, it's Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick. Logano has almost a 3-second lead now over Kevin Harvick. He's been running all over the racetrack, some on the bottom and some up on the top, as he's caught some slower traffic on the track and continues to put cars a lap down. We were listening into his teammate just moments ago. I want to listen into some spotter communication from the two. A lot of information there from the spotter. That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less.
Yeah, we hear it every week how the spotter's more than just telling a driver when there's a wreck on the racetrack. He's really the driver's second set of eyes, trying to pay attention, see things that he can't see, and relay that information to him.
Well, you have Brad Keselowski running the bottom of the racetrack and committed to the bottom of the racetrack. Well, his somewhat teammate The 22 leading the race is his teammate, but the other somewhat teammate of this Penske car is the 21 of Ryan Blaney, and Ryan Blaney is running the exact opposite location on the racetrack. You see right here, this white and blue car, he runs right in really, really high, gets right against the wall, and then watch how soon he picks up the throttle. Look at his exit speed compared to the 11 of Denny Hamlin. He's going to catch it easily down the backstretch, move to his outside, so he's making the top work. One of the fastest cars on the racetrack, it seems like every lap since he has committed to the top. This is another perfect example. Look at the speed he'll have here on corner exit.
Yeah, I think too. When you think about the guys he's racing, Denny Hamlin, Denny Hamlin can't afford a bad race.
Oh, no.
And I think he's going to be a little more patient about going to the top because of the tire wear that we talked about. You see the 41 car, Kurt Busch. He needs a good run. He may be in the position to have him win a race, so he's going to be willing to jump up there before Denny Hamlin is.
But I think that's what Ryan Blaney should do, Rick. We talk about the chase. Well, use the chase to his advantage. Force the 41 to be uncomfortable. Force the 11 young. If you're not going to come up there and race with me, I can risk it. A win is more important than points for this 21 car.
Good battle here between the 2 and the 20. Matt Kenseth closing in on the back bumper of the 2 of Brad Keselowski.
Look at the rotor glowing. We're at a 1.5 mile racetrack. I mean, that's how hard he's driving this race car. So getting into the corner, he's having to use those brakes to get it checked up, even though he's running the top. You would not expect to see the rotors blowing on a 1.5 mile racetrack, but that's how hard he's driving the race car.
We would expect to see the 42 of Kyle Larson go right to the wall, though. And I'm guessing if there wouldn't have been traffic in front of him, that's the route he would have been taking.
Yeah, so one thing we're going to talk about all night long when we talk about the difficult areas of this racetrack, we're going to talk about the bumps, the roughness. We don't mean just the surface of the racetrack as far as being rough on the tires. We mean physical bumps like railroad tracks in the middle of these corners, and it's easy to see at night because these cars spark so easily when they hit them. So you see right here on board with Kevin Harvick, tons of sparks off the car in front of him.
Yeah, look at Matt Kenseth as he has to work that wheel. Look at all the sparks fly off right there, that big bump right in the middle, 1 and 2. And look at the 30 car. Watch the back of the car move around every time it falls into one of those bumps. And watch Ryan Blaney, same thing, lots of rear wheel movement.
Yeah, watch this left rear tire right here as he goes through the bumps. That has, we talk about fractions of an inch. That's inches. We can, those are full inches that left rear tire is moving.
Kelly.
Kyle Larson won the Xfinity Series race yesterday. We know he's one of the first to move up to that high line, and that's why his crew chief, Tad Johnston, thinks the tracks like this suits him because he can move around and look for different lines and find some speed. But he also told me, hey, we know he's going to bounce off the wall once or twice, so we just try to make sure nothing's going to fall off the car. We really prepare for him to brush the wall a bit. He said it's a lot to ask of a driver to be racing 2 inches off the wall at these speeds for about 500 miles and not hit anything. So this team comes prepared to see Kyle Larson right off the wall. By the way, he's had a race car that's just way too tight. He's been moving his track bar up inside that cockpit.
He's been one of the drivers on the move, though, since the restart on lap 34. Kyle Larson's moved up 7 spots. Greg Biffle also 7 positions. Jamie McMurray has moved up 5.
So we see Matt Kenseth right here chasing Brad Keselowski down, trying to pass him. And from the outside, it looks relatively calm. He's working the steering wheel, working the car. It looks like it's handling pretty good as he tries to chase these guys. But we go inside this 20 car, and we watch Matt Kenseth work the steering wheel. His hands are busy. It's like he's in there fighting a swarm of bees.
Yeah, this racetrack's just so rough. You have no choice. You have to constantly be changing the way you drive the race car, going over the bumps.
You see right there how quick his hands have to move, and then again on corner exit, you can hear the throttle right there. Is a big correction by the 20.
And guys, part of the reason for that correction, Matt had radioed in not too long ago saying he might be on the splitter, especially on the right front, and also feeling like the spring on the left rear feels a little bit soft, while the right rear spring feels a little bit hard. Dave?
Tires coming off of the 88 car of Alex Bowman. He felt something that made him come to pit road at these speeds, and it is. The right front tire has unwound on this 88 car, and he could feel it, brought it to pit road immediately.
Well, you can see right here, there's damage right here on the right front tire. If you look right there, there's a hole. So that right front tire has come apart. and it has made enough contact with the fender that between the fender and the hood, there's now a hole in the sheet metal. You see the right front tire. Basically what happens is this white you see on the inside right here, those are the cords. As you wear down to those cords, they start to pick, and once one piece peels, it unwinds across the tire.
And a good save for Alex Bowman, because when that right front tire did do that, he didn't put it into the wall, so saved a race car, was able to get it onto pit road, and they get those tires changed.
And this is what we talked about with the concern with this racetrack being green without the rubber on the racetrack because of all the rain. And you go back and think about last year, here's Joey Logano trying to win a championship, has a tire fail, car spins out, destroys the car. Kevin Harvick a little bit later, he had a tire problem. You can see just the whole tire came apart. The 88 car once again,
that's right,
he had a tire problem.
Yeah, the left rear on the 42, we saw this time and time again, and we talked about this, Jeff, with the rain, with the speeds, this is going to be an issue. And I think that other crew chiefs on pit road need to go down, understand why the 88 was on pit road, because I think a lot has to do with where he was running on the racetrack.
That's exactly right.
We saw the 21 up against the wall. We see the 42 up against the wall. The 4 of Kevin Harvick. They're up there because it's faster, but there is a risk.
Risk of wearing out those tires a little bit quicker. Logano still leading. He's led 64 laps already of the 70 run.
Green flag pit stops underway here at Texas. That's Kurt Busch in the 41. He said he just had no rear grip. It was way too loose. He asked his crew chief to take some big swings at it, both with air pressure and wedge, Mike.
Matt Kenseth on pit road as well. He's been saying he's been a little bit loose throughout the course of a run, but feels pretty good about his race car. A 4-tire change there and air pressure, Marty.
4 fresh Goodyear tires for Kevin Harvick. He said he wanted to run the top of the wall, but the car was just so loose he couldn't do it. Wedge adjustments on both sides and a lot of traffic here on pit road, Dave.
Depending on the line the leader runs, it's either a little tight or a little free, so they'll make an adjustment here for Joey Logano. It's the middle line that's a little free, but that top line is where it gets tight at the 2/3 mark. Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel going on for race leader Joey Logano.
Joey Logano didn't have the coveted #1 stall. That was Austin Dillon who had won the pole, but at 22, a very good pit stall and a good pit stop as he's able to get off of pit road. Here comes the 3 of Austin Dillon. Dave.
Remember the pole sitter tonight, Rick, after a very good qualifying effort on Friday afternoon. Austin's car right now, if he runs that top line, feels like it won't turn when he's coming off of the corner. So they're going to change the air pressure in at least one of these tires for him. They'll give him 4 new ones and fill it full of Sunoco fuel.
I think once Alex Bowman had his problem, and then Jimmy Johnson, he came to pit road. The minute Jimmy Johnson came to pit road, that gave everybody else permission, Steve, to get on pit road and not be a guy out there and potentially have a tire problem.
Yeah, because those newer tires are a second and a half or 2 seconds faster. You need to come to pit road and get them. And now we see Denny Hamlin also coming to pit road. Dave?
Steve, so the guy who's in the chase, trying to win the championship still, has been on either side of the balance tonight. It started a little bit tight. They swung to the loose side this time, so he'll get an air pressure adjustment for new tires and Sunoco fuel.
And Rick, we talked about the 11. Why is he the last car on pit road? While we know that's probably not the strategy they wanted to play, but they gained a point for leading the lap. Same thing for Kyle Busch. Led a lap, gained a point. Marty.
And that was exactly the plan for Kyle Busch and his team. In fact, they thought about coming earlier, and Adam Stevens said it kind of doesn't get us in the window that I want. And plus, I'd love to stay out and lead that lap that you mentioned, Steve. They got that bonus point for leading that lap for Kyle Busch and the 18. We'll see if that pays off on this stop for these guys. 4 fresh Goodyear tires. Because the car was wicked tight and flipped a switch about 3/4 of the way through that run and got a lot worse.
Kelly.
And while we were away at commercial, was Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car made a pit stop. He felt like he had a tire going down, and in fact, you can see the right front tire back here in pit lane now was starting to come apart, so he was the first one to come down. Other than that, he had just said he had a loose race car. They made both a wedge and air pressure adjustment, Mike.
And a 4-tire change for Carl Edwards as well. The tires do all look pretty good. None of them look like they have too much excessive wear. That's a good sign, especially for a car that had been a little bit tight at the beginning of the run for Carl Edwards. Lots of grip out there, and that's what he's been talking about, but a very fast race car for Carl Edwards. He also made a wedge adjustment last time down pit road. Rick?
Yeah, chaos right here. These drivers mixed in. It's lead lap cars and lap down cars fighting for position on the racetrack. Again, Alex Bowman on the lead lap. Came to pit road early because of a right front tire that was going apart on him. Jimmy Johnson behind him. Matt Kenseth running 10th. Those three nose to tail as they go down the backstretch.
This high wear we're seeing on these right front tires, Rick, I'm a fan of. And I don't want to sound inconsiderate to the drivers, but Jeff, the driver can feel it. Alex Bowman felt that he had a tire. He came to pit road. Jimmy Johnson felt that he had a tire. And why I like that is I think Goodyear's brought a tire that has grip but does wear out. And now this is part of managing these 500 miles. 500 miles is a test of man, machine, patience, strategy, all of those things combined. And I think you see Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, some of these veterans, they're probably going to run the bottom a little bit longer on this run, I imagine.
Well, I think the one thing, though, Steve, the only argument to that is the more the track gets rubbered up, the more it doesn't matter where you run.
Right.
Early in the race, you know, everybody's on the bottom, so that's where you have to go. But now that people have started to move around, it gives the drivers a little more freedom to move because the rubber is put into the racetrack. And that rubber in the racetrack helps with tire wear for sure.
Kenseth able to use the second groove to get by the 48 as the 48's running that low line.
Wow, Kenseth almost got in the wall off two.
Right on the back bumper, the 88 of Alex Bowman, and once again he'll go right through the middle, and Kenseth making that line work for him.
And that really showed you how good the 20 car looks. I mean, he really carried that momentum around the outside of the 88 relatively easily. Now Jimmy Johnson, the 48, is going to try to do the same.
Yeah, one thing, the 88, he's out there on older tires. You know, he pitted about 8 laps sooner than these guys did, so you know, he may have his car actually may be a little better, but he's not going to be able to run with him of the 8 laps more laps on the tires.
300 cars running together now as you see Chase Elliott in the 24 running a little bit higher line.
We run a lot of fast racetracks, but this one is just, you still see the cars move around, and I don't mean bounce, I mean rear tires left to right, getting loose off the corners. Just even though it is this fast, they still seem right on the edge, out of control.
Dave.
The update on Chase Elliott is good so far. The driver just going about his business in that 24 car. Justin Allgaier remains on standby for him, but right now it looks like Chase is going to try to weather most of this race if he can, just going about his business.
And again, Chase Elliott suffering from flu-like symptoms before the race started, but is in the car and racing here at Texas.
AARP can show you how both naps and jogs support brain health. Get to know AARP and staying sharp at aarp.org/possibilities.
Under the lights at Texas Motor Speedway. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. You see the 14 on the back of Big Hoss, recognizing Tony Stewart making his final Sprint Cup Series start at Texas Motor Speedway. Joe Logano still out front, has almost a 4-second lead over Kyle Larson. Carl Edwards running third. Martin Truex Jr. is fourth. Kevin Harvick in the top 5. With more on the 18, who's currently running 16th, Marty.
Making his way back up through the field after that pit stop a moment ago where they stayed out to lead a couple of laps. But is there a potential issue developing with the 18? Listen on the radio.
I either broken exhaust and it's getting worse, or I broke a valve spring, like I chipped the tip off in a valve spring or something.
Jeff, you know, there's not a lot of immediate concern right now in the 18 camp. I should note they do noted that from Kyle Busch. But Jeff, you know, as a driver, you got to use all your senses, don't you? You talked yesterday about using your sense of smell sometimes, but here you're using your sense of hearing. You're trying to hear that, and sometimes the pitch of the engine is a little bit different. That's what Kyle's picking up on. Again, not a lot of concern in the 18 camp, but certainly aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I think there's not much concern as long as there's an exhaust leak. You know, if it's an exhaust leak making the sound change, well, I don't think that's much concern. But if it was truly a valve spring, that would be a major concern. And the only way Kyle Busch could tell it was a valve spring is if he had had that experience before. where they had a valve spring that just chipped the end of it off, and it changed the tone, and now he can go back and remember what that sounded like. So that's either experience or fear talking right there, because the fear would be it's a valve spring. The hope is that it's exhaust.
You know, in that last round of green flag pit stops, this 18 of Kyle Busch, they decided to stay out a little bit longer and actually lead a lap. And I completely understand what Adam Stevens is trying to do. Points can be very valuable, but see how much it costs him. This is Kyle Busch on the racetrack with old tires. You see those new tires just filing by, costing him time on the track, costing him positions. You know, the 18 was running 14th before the green flag pit stop. He blended back on the racetrack in 19th. He's done a good job, worked his way up to 16th, but almost 23 seconds behind the leader of Joey Logano. You just see right here just how much time he lost on those old tires. He's still running good, just old tires have much less grip.
Let's go on board the Toyota inboard camera with Kyle Busch as he rides around, and shouldn't say rides around, as he drives around. The workload here, nobody's riding, but you can hear the sound, and the driver hears when he accelerates what it sounds like, how it sounds carrying the speed down the corner, and he even hears when he lifts off the corner, the engine has a sound. So all those things are information the driver has filed away through years of experience, and that's what Kyle Busch is listening to.
Definitely helps the front end. I like that. I don't know how much more room there is to go. You know, it's not like it was on the splitter, a little takeoff. It was only for a lap and a half.
That's really good information, telling the crew chief that it was on the splitter, but only for a lap and a half. If it was on the splitter for 6 or 7 laps, then the crew chief needs to start thinking about, okay, I'm going to have to make a change, because on these restarts, this one was easy restart. You're all by yourself, but a restart after caution, you're going to be next to cars, and if you're banging the splitter around other cars, it's going to kill your lap time. So the fact you said it only did it for a few laps, that's good information for the crew chief to know.
So we talked at the top of the show, really even before the rain, Texas Motor Speedway was going to be difficult for these drivers and teams to manage tire and tire wear. That's just how this racetrack is. Then the rain came, and I think that's made this situation even more difficult. We've seen tire problems here in the past. Well, tonight, as mentioned, the rain came, the air titans came out. You see it's more than just water they're blowing off the racetrack. They're also blowing that rubber off the racetrack. So early on, most cars are running the bottom of the racetrack. Alex Bowman, he sees an opportunity, get up high, make some lap time, and he did that and did it successfully. But then with only 32 laps on this right front tire, Jeff, it wears through the cords unzip, the tire comes apart. Alex Bowman's teammate, the 48 Jimmy Johnson, had a tire that looked somewhat similar, not quite as severe, with 39 laps on it.
And when Jimmy Johnson came to pit road, that opened the floodgates. Everyone decided it was time to make their way to pit road. So that's when the green flag stop started.
And listen, remember, Alex Bowman is a young driver. This is the best equipment he's ever driven. He's not in the chase. Go get you some, right?
Absolutely.
And even Jimmy Johnson, he's in the chase. He's going to Homestead. If you want to get up in the high line, go get you some. These chase drivers early in the race, they were not afforded that luxury.
One of the Hendrick drivers not in the chase, Casey Kane. He's currently running 14th, Dave.
Just passed his teammate Alex Bowen for that position, Rick, and he started 31st today. So I went down to Keith Rodden in the garage this morning and asked him what was up with qualifying. He said at Charlotte, a 1.5 mile track, we did some things we liked, so we took him to Kansas, a 1.5 mile track, and we liked what they did there, so we brought him here, a 1.5 mile track. They didn't work, so they took those changes off on the 5-car for Saturday, got it much more drivable and raceable, and he's made up a ton of positions tonight.
17 spots. Started 31st, now running 14th. Up front, though, it's still Joey Logano. Joey Logano out front, but has had some fairly good finishes. We take a look at that presented by Sprint. 2 top 3 finishes in the last 3 races for Joey Logano as the caution comes out.
You see right here as John Corbett, Joe Logano, you go through the smoke in turn 4.
That caution was a big benefit to Kurt Busch. He was the next driver to go a lap down. Joey Logano had lapped all the way to 19th and Paul Menard, but Kurt Busch with a big break.
And we see the 44 rolling slowly. That's Brian Scott right up against the wall.
Scott loose, came around on him, but no contact. And listen, if you're driving an 18 car and you're in the chase, this is not what you want to see. A car spinning out right in front of you. Nice job. It's not only you, what you're trying to miss this wreck, but it's the guys behind you also. So many times you have to slow down much more than you want to, and the guy behind you gets into you. Casey Kane also did a nice job in that wreck.
Keep an eye on pit road here, Rick. There's, I guess, a little bit of damage to the right rear quarter panel on this 44 behind the tire. Nothing too severe, though. Something I think you should be able to repair. But as I was mentioning, we saw the 6 have an issue getting to his pit stall, caused a little chaos. Well, we still have 18 cars in lead lap. That could be a big fear for these chases. You know, something as simple as wrinkling a fender on pit road at a high-speed track like Texas can completely change your night.
Lead lap cars coming to you, Mike.
And Matt Kenseth didn't really know what to expect before this race. Now he does. He feels like the car is a little bit tight, especially on the right rear. It feels like that right rear is a little bit stiff. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment there. Also a 4-tire change for Kenseth. Meanwhile, his teammate Carl Edwards, another guy talking about the car being tight, although he feels like the track's going to continue to get tight. They'll loosen him up here with an air pressure adjustment, Marty.
Kevin Harvick said we're either loose or too tight. We just can't seem to hit the middle, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment, trying to get that car just right, kind of flips the switch and gets too tight at the end of the run, Dave.
Little looser that time for leader Joey Logano. It looks like he will win the race off of pit road after 4 tires, no adjustments, and fuel.
As we take a look at the race off pit road, Keselowski gaining a spot, Harvick losing one. The caution coming out for Brian Scott on a wild ride right in front of Kyle Busch. Fort Worth Stockyards about 20 miles away from the racetrack, and that's where you can find Letty's. They make cowboy boots and custom saddles, and quite an art. They are able to manipulate that leather. Welcome back to No Limits Texas as we go back to pit road, and Marty.
Second stop for Ryan Blaney just a moment ago, coming back down pit road and even riding under caution. He said, just feels like we didn't get all the lug nuts tight, guys. So they came down pit road just to make sure all the lugs were tight. They were indeed all tight, but Jeff, better be safe than sorry, right? Make sure they're all tight for the 21 cars. That's why he came back down pit road.
Yeah, I'm curious if they were all tight. What is he feeling? That's my concern.
And I'm sure that's his concern as well. As they're getting ready for the restart, Logano and Larson making up row number 1. Logano has chosen the outside line on this restart. Carl Edwards behind Joey Logano. And Edwards trying that high line to see if he can get by the 42 of Kyle Larson. Very strong here in Texas. After he was able to take the lead away from Austin Dillon on the restart, I should say. It was green-yellow to start the race, but on the restart, Logano able to take the lead away from Austin Dillon. He has been the only one that has been up front competitively. Kyle Busch stayed out to lead 2 laps. David Reagan was out for a lap. Denny Hamlin out for a lap when the green flag pit stops took place as the caution comes out once again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we saw brake hose bouncing around, hitting race cars. Pretty sure that's what this caution is for.
Sure enough, some debris on the back stretch is what NASCAR is letting us know the caution is for.
I most saw this big piece of orange hose right here. You see it up near the wall. You know, it's a flexible hose. It doesn't really do any damage, but it's a big piece. It needs to be picked up. It can't be kept out there. I say it won't do any damage, but bouncing off the car. And there's another piece even above that. I can't tell if that's maybe a piece of metal or carbon fiber that hose that perhaps was attached to. I think that's actually more the concern. Yeah, I think that basically what that is right there, Rick, is a piece of carbon fiber. I would bet money that hose and that part right there at one time was attached to an upper control arm and blowing cool air on someone's right front tire. And since we've seen the 88 have an issue, perhaps it came off the 88. Marty?
Well, Steve, here's the dilemma for you and your race team. Kevin Harvick says it's vibrating like crazy. Check with all the changers and see if they got the lug nuts tight. Rodney Childers said the changers feel good about it. So the dilemma is, do you come down pit road? Do you chance it? Do you see if you can make it on a run or give up all that track position and come in and tighten all those lug nuts? Right now, staying on the racetrack for that 4-car, Rodney Childers left it up to him, said if you feel like something is bad wrong, come on down pit road. Harvick has not said a word since then, though. But that's a tough one for the crew chief, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, that's something you're going to have to let the driver decide normally. Kelly?
And you see the 48 of Jimmy Johnson has come to pit road. They came down and made some big adjustments. The last time he came down, it was on the splitter, though, to start this run. And you see they're taking the opportunity to give him 4 fresh Goodyear tires under this Quickie Yellow.
Quick yellow for debris. We'll be back for the restart. Once again, Logano and Larson making up row 1. Coming into play up front as he's on the high side, looking to get by the 42 of Kyle Larson. Larson not trying to give him any lines that he can work with. A little momentum through the quad oval, and Martin Truex Jr. takes second away.
See, Carl Edwards behind him. He was trying to decide who he wanted to go with. I'm not so sure he didn't almost get into the right rear quarter panel, Larson.
Logano, Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Carl Edwards, Brad Keselowski. Top 5, Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, the top 10.
Chase Elliott sitting there running 6. You think he's worried about feeling bad right now? That's the last thing on his mind. The best thing for a race car driver that doesn't feel well, talking about having flu-like symptoms, is having a race car that's fast.
Currently only 19 cars on the lead lap. A.J. Allmendinger running in that 19th spot. First car a lap down is the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Want to go through the field. Brought to you by Nationwide. We'll kick it off with Dave Burns.
And Rick, you guys were talking earlier about the use of that high line as a tool for a driver to make his car better. When I asked crew chief Todd Gordon about it for Joey Logano this morning, he said that he would be able to run up there if possible, but his first reaction was, what? Who? Joey? Catfish? Logano? Catfish. Typically a bottom feeder, and that's Joey's preferred line here. Mike?
You know, Dave, talking with Martin Truex Jr.'s crew chief Cole Pearn this morning, you got a sense that he was looking for some vindication. Back in the spring, they led 141 laps here at Texas, but a pit call that went awry. Pearn felt like cost them the race. Wants to make up for it today. Came back with a very similar setup, a different race car, but feels like it's just as fast here tonight and could come home with a victory. Kelly?
Kyle Larson seems to have a race car that has come to life, because when I spoke to both Kyle and his crew chief Chad Johnston today, neither of them seemed to have a whole lot of confidence. Kyle saying that his car was a bit of a handful in practice, and Chad saying, I don't really feel that great about it. We're decent on speed, but we're struggling with balance. Good news for this team. They have got the balance good on this 42 car. Kyle's happy with it right now.
A week ago, after having a tire problem in Martinsville, Carl Edwards said the first thought he had was, hey, let's go to Texas and win there. Extremely confident coming to this racetrack, a place where he's won 3 times, and he's proven that he still has the stuff. A very fast race car. He's moved his way inside the top 3 and is making his way toward the front. Feels like the car is very well balanced, just chasing the racetrack right now. He feels like that's going to get tighter as the night wears on. Meanwhile, Brad Keselowski, not a chaser right now, but still plenty to prove. His crew chief Paul Wolf told me this morning, you know, we've had a good season. We've won 4 times, but it's disappointing because we're not going to run for the championship. Still, though, there's things to race for. Trophies. They feel like they can get one here tonight. The car very well balanced and very fast for Keselowski. Dave?
Mike, you know how it is, how hard it is to do your job when you don't feel well, and Chase has been feeling lousy this weekend. But look at him go. 6th place now after starting 11th on the day. His car has been pretty good on balance, and it's very fast. Marty?
Dave, no word from Kevin Harvick on the vibration since that last caution, and he told me earlier this week there's a lot to learn from Chicago to this track that will help you at Homestead. What's the commonality? The tire. The one they ran at Chicago and the one they're running here, same exact one they ran, one will run at Homestead. Harvick hope he learns things tonight. It'll help him win a championship in a couple weeks if they can get there, Dave.
Marty, Austin Dillon's crew chief Slugger Labby mentioned it in our pre-race interview today, but he was so proud of the new generation car and engine spec they brought to the track this weekend. And why was he so hopeful with it? Well, the last time they did something like that, they made it through at Dover to the next round of the chase. Now he's no longer in, but very happy with the pole and happy with the direction that RCR is going, Mike.
You know, Dave, Matt Kenseth has led the most laps in 2 of the last 3 races, yet has not gone to victory lane. And believe me, that has given them some motivation. Kenseth to the bottom of the racetrack trying to move his way past Austin Dillon now. They feel like they have the car to win, and they have for several weeks, just haven't got it done yet. They feel like they still need a little bit more stability in the race cars. You see Kenseth drift up the racetrack in order to contend for the win tonight. Dave?
And Mike, here comes Denny Hamlin looking to the low side. Almost made it 3 wide there. He's going to get a position from Austin Dillon right here. And throughout the weekend, as it's been a very tough practice for the 11, I asked his crew chief, Mike Wheeler, how Denny was handling it, because in Denny's past, he wasn't always able to work through things like this. Wheel said he was doing a great job, and maybe that's why in his 30s, Denny may become champion, Mike.
Jamie McMurray very vocal over the race radio, trying to get his crew chief Matt McCall to dial his car in. He's been struggling a little bit tonight. It's gone from both sides of the balance, from tight to loose, back to tight right now. He thinks he still needs to be freed up in order to make his way toward the front here, guys. Dave?
Casey Kane getting around the 1 of Jamie McMurray now, and look at him use the low side there. Talking with Keith Rodden, his crew chief, this morning, we talked about how Casey was traditionally a high side racer on these 1.5-mile tracks, but lately, Keith says, the way the cars are, Casey's been using the bottom a lot. And there he goes again, down to the bottom side, Marty.
Dave, Kyle Busch back in the 13th position on the last run. He called his car, quote, evil. He said, what we have is for traffic is bad, but when I'm in clean air, I'm pretty good. So they're in 13th right now. And Adam Stevens, after that wreck on Friday and the problems in qualifying, called a team meeting with his guys and said, listen, we're not going to let Friday derail our championship dream. Remember, guys, we overcame way more than this last year just to get to the chase, much less win it all. We're not going to let that change what we're going to do here tonight, Dave. Kelly?
Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus will be going for championship number 7. When I asked Chad if he had really taken a moment to let it sink in, he said, honestly, I haven't thought about it. This is not what it's about. I mean, yeah, it'd be huge, but it's huge to win any race in this sport, let alone any championship. He said for now it's just business as usual, trying to learn as much as they can here that would help him at Homestead. The 48 saying that his car started off okay this run, but starting to get a little bit tight now, Dave.
And speaking of helping at Homestead, his teammate Alex Bowman right behind him, not in the chase. He said what they try to do to help the 48 is early in practice start to run the same setup that Jimmy runs. Tell them trends that they see. And then once they've helped, they move in their own direction. Nice recovery so far for the 88 after early tire problems.
Great job through the field, guys. And a little bit of a close call there between the 20 of Matt Kenseth.
Yes, it was. When we were doing that through the field, we saw Matt Kenseth. He had moved up the racetrack, and when he did, he got this incredible run off of turn 4. So right now he's making big room up on Austin Dillon in the 3. Well, he thinks he has this spot. Austin Dillon doesn't. Austin starts to come down the racetrack, and the 20 is there. So never any contact, but it got really close. Watch as he enter turn 1 how close they get.
Clear. All clear.
And as they enter turn 1, I believe they're going 190 miles an hour, 185. Yeah, very close for Matt Kenseth. Joe Logano continuing to set the pace. He would like to join Jimmy Johnson as a guaranteed spot in the championship 4 at Miami. The 26-year-old out of Middletown, Connecticut, out front at Texas Motor Speedway. Tuesday is decision night in America. Join Lester Holt, Savannah Guthrie, Chuck Todd And Tom Brokaw for election coverage all night long. That's Tuesday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Weren't expecting to be under the lights at Texas as this race was supposed to begin just after 1 o'clock. Take a look at this spotter coverage brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. Does that make it a little more difficult for a spotter? Different conditions than one he was expecting.
I'm not sure that the darkness makes much of a difference.
Oh, around goes to 27. Paul Menard into the wall. We saw the smoke.
Leader.
Like the right front tire might be down on that 27.
Yeah, what started as a promising day for Paul Menard. He qualified 6th. Things have steadily gone downhill. They had a penalty on pit road. Had several things happen. They keep finding themselves.
You got a tire down nice and slow.
Right up against the wall.
The same as we saw a little bit earlier. Car just got loose on that top lane, and again, no contact, luckily. Having to turn the wheel back left quickly.
The left front tire goes flat with the slide, and that's where you see the sparks, the splitters on the ground.
So right here, see the wheels turn to the right. If he hadn't turned the wheels back to the left quickly, he would have gone up and hit the outside wall. So even though Paul got the car spinning, he did a nice job not to overcorrect it and get in the wall.
So it brings out the caution for the 5th time. Marty.
And guys, Kyle Busch has a little bit of an issue. He has a hole in the right front of the race car for that 18 car. They're going to try and patch it up when he comes down pit road. Kyle says, I don't remember hitting anything. Tony Hirschman, his spotter, says, I don't remember hitting anything. But there is indeed a hole in the right front fender of that 18 car.
You can see right there, there's a hole on the right side, you know, about the size of a baseball, maybe just a touch larger. That'll allow air through the nose. That'll take off front downforce, so the team will want to put some tape on it on the pit stop. Mike?
Matt Kenseth has been pretty calm over the radio throughout the course of the evening. He did describe the car as cattywampus at one point, but otherwise pretty happy. 4-tire change of the 20 car. Meanwhile, the 19 car, Carl Edwards, showing a lot of speed tonight. Very happy with the balance. 4 tires and fuel there as well, Marty.
Kevin Harvick said his car was just a little bit too loose on that run, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment. Really didn't make much progress. Restarted 7th, and that's where he ran the whole run, Dave.
Still leading is Joey Logano, all but 10 laps so far tonight. Slight air pressure adjustment for a car that is a little tight in the center and freer longer. Marty?
18 is still on pit road, Dave, I believe, and they're trying to fix that right front, and you see the patchwork going on. They actually were making a better patchwork for that, but then the caution came out much sooner than they expected, so it's going to be tape and not the metal that they would like to have made if they could have made that. But Kyle Busch sitting here on pit road trying to do the best they can. You see him actually heating up that tape, trying to get it to stick a little bit better, and trying to get that hole fixed as best they can for that 18 car, so it does not affect the aerodynamics.
Well, yeah, because the aerodynamic, we're talking 200 miles an hour. That's going to be a huge issue to have the hole. You see that aluminum colored tape, they have it repaired. At the moment, we'll have to see if it holds up when it goes back to green.
Take a look at how we believe that hole got in the front of the 18.
And we saw that brake duct bouncing around on the racetrack, and we saw it hit a lot of cars, but you see right here the brake duct, clearly the 22 makes contact with it. It shoots it up against the racetrack. Parts of it come off, and here's the 18 car. He clearly misses that, but watch right here. There's a piece bouncing off the wall. It appears that's what got the car.
Yeah, this is a great shot of it. You see right here, this piece has a little bit more weight to it, and it punches right through the front fascia, causing the hole. They're actually fortunate as let's listen in on what the 18 has to say about the damage.
Yeah, they didn't show the replay on TV. They finally have some footage of it. When that brake duct came out of that car earlier, there was a piece further down the backstretch, and it put a big hole in their nose. So, taped up now. We'll make sure this tape holds well.
2x2 once again. Now it's Logano and Truex Jr. making up the front row.
Joey Logano's done a great job all night. We talked about how hard it is to get launched here and leave in the restart zone, but he has perfected it so far.
Into turn 3, Logano with the advantage once again. Mark Truex Truex Jr. running second. Carl Edwards is third. Sparks continuing to fly as the air pressure low after this last pit stop. Kevin Harvick running the low line. Kyle Larson in the 42 through the middle. A little bit higher up, Chase Elliott in the 24.
Some people are wondering if those sparks are a distraction when you run through them. You saw Kevin Harvick run right through the middle of the sparks, and the answer is yes. It is a distraction, but you just have to do your best you can to ignore it.
27 of Paul Menard trying to make some moves toward the front, Kelly.
And Rick, there was just an incident down here when Paul Menard came to pit road. Tire specialist Nathan Jennings had taken one of the tires that came off the 27, and it just exploded. You can see the tire back here in pit lane with a huge hole in it. I was 2 pit stalls away and actually heard it. It made an incredible noise. You could actually feel it. You see Nathan there now being checked out. He has actually been taken away to be treated at medical. The team telling me they think he's okay, but they kind of want to, as a precautionary measure, take him to be evaluated by the medical personnel, and I could see him kind of holding his ears. Like I said, it was an incredible noise. You could actually feel it as that tire exploded.
Remember, we saw that 27 slide across the racetrack. Perhaps we saw the left front tire go flat, but another tire in the car must have had a tremendous amount of damage to it, and just sitting there finally let go.
Well, and the tire specialist, that's not one that goes over the wall. It's one that when the tires come back over, he'll evaluate everything that took place and look over those tires. And those guys don't normally have helmets or glasses on. They normally are back behind the wall where you wouldn't expect things like that to happen.
Let's hope he's okay.
Joe Logano still up front. Now Kenseth in that DeWalt number 20, closing the gap on Brad Keselowski in the 2. He looks to the inside as he go to turn number 1.
This race has a Matt Kenseth feel to it. He's one of those drivers that just seems to find a way to get better as the races go on. And when the racetrack changes, Matt Kenseth is so good about keeping up with the racetrack, telling his team what to do to the car to make it better. So not quite halfway in this race. It wouldn't surprise me to see Matt Kenseth continuing to move at the front.
We see pole winner from Friday, Austin Dillon in the 3, running that low line and getting by the 2 of Brad Keselowski. So Austin Dillon up to the 8th spot. Brad Keselowski back to 9th. Matt Kenseth running in the 7th position, and Joe Gibbs Racing, no wins in the chase yet this season. Those 7 chase races have been run, and that's the longest Joe Gibbs Racing has gone all season without a win. It's presented by Sprint. Sprint's network reliability is now within 1% of Verizon. Switch today, save 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile rates. Visit a Sprint store or sprint.com/network today.
When you talk about Joe Gibbs Racing and no wins in the chase, no Joe Gibbs car needs a win more than the 19 of Carl Edwards. Running 3rd tonight, having a great run, but still currently 25 points behind. And that just shows you how much an accident or a mistake will take you out of this chase. Really, that 19 that's got to be looking at it. Really, he has to go win this race.
Well, you see on the left side, we pull the points up as they run right now, and Carl Edwards having a good night, running 3rd. But still, with all the trouble that they had last week, you can see they're still 25 points back.
And Jeff, they very much know their situation. I spoke with Dave Rogers this morning about it. He said, you know, the thing he's most proud of, he went into the team meeting on Tuesday and he looked around the room at his teammates and all his crew members, and not one of them, he said, was hanging his head. He said they all had the right demeanor. They had a let's go get this type of attitude, and that's what they brought to here to Texas to battle. As for Carl, he was very confident coming into this race, and he told me, he said, look, we thought coming into this this round, we would have to win a race anyway. It felt like there would be 2 winners that were chasers and only 2 that would go in on points. So their best shot was to actually win a race. So even though they had a disappointing Martinsville, they felt like here at Texas and Phoenix, very good racetracks for them, and they give them a good opportunity to get that victory and move on to the championship round.
You see where the Joe Gibbs Racing cars are running now. They're kind of spread out. 3rd, 7th, 13th, 18th. You know, the topic of conversation is really about how will these cars work together. They did such a great job at the beginning of the year in the Daytona 500. Then we saw Carl Edwards actually get into Kyle Busch at Richmond in the spring for the win. Last week at Martinsville, the 3 Gibbs cars raced very, very hard with one another as Jimmy Johnson went out and took the win. And we talked about this, Rick, with Jimmy Johnson guaranteeing a spot in the final or in the championship 4 at Miami. That means that at least one Gibbs car is guaranteed not to be there.
Well, and during the week, the Joe Gibbs Racing drivers all decided, you know what, we need to get together and talk about this. We've talked about how, as a team, we're going to try to help each other out, but we better get in a room and just discuss this. And so Joe Gibbs brought the 4 drivers together, and they actually instigated that meeting where all 4 of them got in a room and they hashed it out as far as, you know, what kind of teammates are we going to be. Marty?
And Rick, I asked Joe Gibbs about that meeting because you would think, being a former NFL coach winning Super Bowl championships, he would have called the meeting. He said, no, the drivers wanted to call the meeting. I said, well, did you kind of lead the meeting? He said, no, I let them talk. I just kind of sat back and listened. I actually had very little to say in that meeting, and I was impressed with how my drivers kind of worked it out amongst themselves. They certainly came in with different opinions, and they left on the same page. So very good leadership by Joe Gibbs, kind of doing nothing, letting the drivers kind of lead that meeting.
Well, I think that's a great report, but they're currently all spread out through the field. We get in the closing laps of this race and they're all in the top 5. We're going to put that report to test to see. It's easy to sit in a conference room and say you're going to race each other or to get it worked out, Jeff. Much different to do it on the racetrack.
Well, teammates in NASCAR is completely different than teammates in the NFL or basketball or anything else. You're competing against each other. You're working during the week to try to build the best race cars you can and to try to help each other. But on Sunday, you're here to win the race. And that's a very complicated process. All the drivers, crew members, everybody have to be lined up and understand the process.
Just saw Chase Elliott break back into the top 5. Joe Logano has now led 152 laps at Texas. We have reached the halfway point from Texas Motor Speedway. 167 laps complete, now 168 complete, 166 to go. Take a look at the 4 drivers that are below the cut line and how far they're back. 6 points for Kyle Busch, 9 Kevin Harvick, 24 for Edwards and Kurt Busch.
Yeah, kind of a little concerned about the 18 car right now. They're not running well. They're 18th. They came in, they fixed the hole in the nose, but they just hadn't been able to find the speed. They're a solid 3 to 4 tenths a second off of what the leader can run right now.
And you take a look at the 18 of Kyle Busch. Remember, he had a crash in the first practice on Friday, had to go to a backup car. They were able to get the car out there relatively quickly, only 53 minutes from the time he hit the wall until the backup car made it onto the track. But then in their haste, left the water hose that connected to the engine, left it loose. That leaked during qualifying. They weren't able to get out of the first round of qualifying, and they've been now fighting that issue pretty much the whole weekend because of the fact having started a little bit further back. They hit some debris. So it's been a tough weekend for the 18 team, Marty.
And they've overcome, for the most part, trying to overcome once again after getting that hole in the right front fascia on that 18 car. In fact, a moment ago, Kyle said, I've never been so angry in my life, frustrated because they've fallen back in the pack, worked their way back up. Now they've fallen back in the pack again. The team has made a more permanent fix for that right front fascia on the 18 car. It is made of metal, and they're going to put it on this next stop. What they have on now is just temporary tape, so they're going to make this more permanent solution. There you see it, very beefed up for that right front of the car, and they think that will be a permanent solution. Should not be an issue for the rest of the night, but how long will it take to get that on, and how much track position will they lose once again, Kelly, having to come back to the field?
Well, just past the halfway point, Marty, and it has been a difficult race for Kurt Busch. They have come to pit road making some major changes each time. Listen to this list of items they changed on just one stop a couple times down pit road.
We did left rear rubber this time and put some rebound in the right rear shock. Pulled a 1/16 of packer out of the right front to wrap the bar a little bit more. Put 3/10 of air in both lefts. Took a half a pound out of the right rear.
So a lot of big changes. This is actually a brand new race car for this 41 team. But at one point, Kurt's saying there's just no way that this is the same race car that we had in practice. It's just acting so different. I can't tell you, a handful of laps ago, though, he did have some good news saying the change they made to the right rear seemed to be working.
As we're watching this battle, all the way back in 16th spot, one thing to keep in mind is that these cars, these two Busch brothers, they're a half a lap back already. Joey Logano is moving, and if they don't get a caution and this thing goes long green flag, and Texas has a history of going long green flag, these two cars, although they're a long way away from it, they ultimately could get a lap down. They're right at a half a lap back, and we haven't been running green that long, so they're going to have to find some speed or get that caution.
About 30 laps since they were all on pit road at lap 145 and currently on lap 175. But as you mentioned, the Busch brothers running toward the back of the lead lap cars.
Yeah, why did, you talk about Joey Logano catching them. Well, Joey Logano needs to get rolling because Martin Truex Jr. in this 78, they have worked on this car, made some improvements, and he has consistently inched his way in closer to the rear bumper of the 22. I mean, think of this 78 of Martin Truex Jr., how well he ran here in the first race. Really came down to a decision to pit, when not to pit. A 10-lap difference between him and the 18 of Kyle Busch. The 18 goes on to win the race, but the 78 was so dominant. And it's really been that way at all mile-and-a-half tracks. When you look at how well this 78 of Martin Truex Jr. has run, especially at the mile-and-a-half, it is quite remarkable. Led all but a handful of laps at the Coca-Cola 600 early in the year. And really, when he gets a good car at these mile-and-a-halves, he dominates them. But of late, Jeff, I think they've done a better job of eliminating mistakes and improving on their cars throughout the race.
Yeah, they have. And, this is a Joe Gibbs. This team gets help from Joe Gibbs. They buy their chassis, bodies. They get a certain amount of support from Toyota and Gibbs. And although they're not Gibbs teammates, they operate as a Gibbs teammate. And one thing that this team can do is they can go up there and find a way to win this race. That helps Joe Gibbs racing. That takes a guy away from a win that would immediately transfer him in. So I think Cole Pern and all the crew chiefs at Gibbs, they get along so well. They respect each other. They work so well together. Although the 78 can't win a championship, they still could contribute to the health of the entire environment and go win this race.
And Jeff, as it relates to the alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing, Cole Pern told me today, look, things are starting to look a little bit different at their shop. They received 3 new chassis from Joe Gibbs Racing this week. Those are to be used for the 77 team next year and Eric Jones. And with that, Pern told me, hey, look, this is our last 3 races as a single car team. We're going to have to start sharing our toys a little bit next year. We kind of want to go out with a bang and pick up a couple of victories here before the year is over and prove that despite the fact that we're not championship eligible, we are championship worthy.
And I think they've proven that throughout the entire year, as Martin Truex Jr. has been dominant, especially at mile-and-a-half tracks, has led the most laps. Not tonight, though, as Joey Logano continues to dominate here in Texas. Two car lengths separating Martin Truex Jr. and Joey Logano for the lead at Texas. Martin Truex trying a little bit higher line, and a big wobble right there. Took away some of the momentum that he had built up and closed the gap between he and Joey Logano.
Well, you mentioned closing the gap. That's what happens. The 78 has inched its way closer, Jeff, but then you get to a point where the wake of that 22 really affects the car. We saw the 78 move up a lane to try to get out of that dirty air into some cleaner air.
Well, now let's see if the wake of the lap car, the 7 car, Regan Smith, let's see if that affects Joey Logano. It gives an advantage to the 78 of Martin Truex.
Both of them right down at the bottom of the racetrack.
See, right now, I would expect Martin Truex Jr. to go to the top side of the racetrack. You see, these two cars both want the bottom of the racetrack. Now, Joey's going to try to go around the top. That opens the door for the 78.
Here comes Martin Truex Jr. once again. And while this great battle is going on for the lead, the 20 of Matt Kenseth already on pit road. Mike.
And the only thing he's really said about the race car is that it's been a little bit more loose in traffic than otherwise in clean air to make an air pressure adjustment and a 4-tire change along with Sunoco race fuel for Kenzie.
A big move there for Martin Truex Jr. He comes to pit road for service. Mike.
Carl Edwards, a little bit different than his teammate Matt Kenseth. He's saying his car's been a little bit snug throughout the course of this past run. 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment along with Sunoco race fuel there as well. The air pressure adjustment, the only main adjustment on that race car. Meanwhile, Martin Truex Jr. has been in and out of pit road. He's made a 4-tire change as well, along with air pressure. The only thing he said was left front won't hold the line. He's a little bit too loose off. Kelly?
We say Kurt Busch in that 41 also made his way down to pit road. We've documented the major changes that they've been making to this car all night. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires for Kurt, Marty.
Kyle Busch already left pit road. He said his car was absolutely sideways loose, spinning out on entry. They did make that permanent repair, but they could not get it on the car this time because we're under green flag stops. Would have taken too long, Dave.
A little fear to start that run for leader Joey Logano, and maybe that is why the 78 was able to get to him. He'll get a slight air pressure adjustment this time, 4 tires and fuel.
See the 22 lead pit road right here on the apron. The 78 of Martin Truex Jr. He beat the 22 to pit road by a lap, so he's gone by him already. He's going to end up being the race leader. The 19 of Carl Edwards has also passed the 22. That's how much different just a few laps earlier on pit road, really just one lap earlier on pit road can make the 22 of Joe Logano end up losing the lead and move you back to the 3rd position.
Remember, the gap was less than a half a second. Martin Truex Jr. had gotten right to the back bumper of the 22 of Joey Logano, but coming to pit road just a little bit earlier, 1 lap earlier, has enabled Martin Truex Jr. to take the lead away now at Texas. And as the green flag pit stops are cycling through, it's Martin Truex Jr. out front, Carl Edwards running 2nd. Joey Logano has dropped back to 3rd. Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, the top 5. There's the gap. Logano all the way back to 3rd.
And we mentioned it, Carl Edwards and Martin Truex Jr. They just pitted 1 lap earlier. Just 1 lap. That's how far these tires fall off. So the difference in speed is why Joey Logano went from running 1st to now being in 3rd.
Well, it's simple math. It's a lap time. Martin Truex Jr. puts on brand new tires. He goes out and he runs barely over 29 seconds. Well, before they had changed tires, when they were on older tires, they were running in the mid-31s. So you're talking over 2 seconds in 1 lap.
And it's a little bit of an advantage for 2 guys behind behind Logano that don't have anything to lose. Carl Edwards, he's in a must-win situation. Truex Jr., he's not in the chase. Pit early, short-stop it just a little bit. It caught Joey Logano and his team off guard by just a touch. But again, they can't afford to be on pit road, and the caution came out as much and come out and trap them down as much as Truex and Edwards can.
Paul Menard still has yet to come to pit road under this cycle. Kelly, what's going on with the team?
Well, just a quick update about his tire specialist, Mason Jennings. He has been released from the infield care center, but obviously will not return to pit road. He was not hit by anything when that tire exploded, but the team said just his ears are ringing pretty badly. But the good news is that he has been released from the medical care center.
And right in front of that pit stall now, 27, having the service done. A little slow on the left front. And he'll come back out onto the track as Martin Truex Jr. has a 1.3 second lead over Carl Edwards. And Truex Jr. was out front in the spring.
Rick, this is race. Excuse me, I was going to say this is something we're getting used to seeing at these mile-and-a-half tracks as leading laps. While Joey Logano has led 178 laps already tonight, very impressive. Martin Truex has only led 6. He has led a tremendous amount at mile-and-a-half tracks. As a matter of fact, double what Jimmy Johnson, the next car on that list, has led at this type of racetrack.
He definitely has been championship worthy all season long, and it hasn't just been on mile-and-a-half tracks, but that has been his forte. He dominated at Charlotte, led almost every lap at Charlotte in the summer, but he's also ran very strong on the road courses. He's run strong on the super speedways. As a matter of fact, starting off the season, he was within about 8 inches of winning the Daytona 500. And then short tracks, he's been strong as well. So we knew that the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. was going to be a favorite going into the chase. But again, the issues in the round of 12 and Martin Truex Jr. wasn't able to advance into the round of 8. Marty.
Rick, we talk about those cars that came in one lap later than everybody else. Kevin Harvick was on that list. In fact, they lost 2 spots by staying out that one extra lap. Harvick has gained one of those back since. And on that stop before they came in, Harvick said this thing has gone to absolute junk. It won't turn, and they're blowing the tires off the car. They came in, they made a wedge adjustment, also an air pressure adjustment, trying to get that car to turn more for Kevin Harvick. Been tight all evening long, Kelly.
After starting 19th, Jimmy Johnson has now cracked the top 10, and he says that his car continues to get better. That last run said it was just a little bit loose, lacked a little bit of drive off, but when they came down to pit road, it was no changes for the 48, just 4 tires and fuel. Dave?
No changes on the 11 either, but when I looked up to crew chief Mike Wheeler and kind of asked if it was any better on the 11 this last run, he sort of gave me 2 hands, one behind the other, indicating that he was just having trouble passing in traffic. So the car's been a little bit tough for Denny to handle tonight, and he's still logged back there in about the 13th position.
19's coming. Martin Truex Jr. had about a 1.5-second lead. Now it's down to 0.3 of a second.
Carl Edwards is second. He's having a great run inside the top 3, inside the top 4. But the issue is that accident in Martinsville. Look, still 24 points behind. So you look at Martin Truex Jr., who was eliminated from the chase. He wants to win trophies. But Carl Edwards, in my opinion, is racing for his championship hopes. If he can't win here or in Phoenix, I don't believe the 19 can make it to Miami in the championship 4.
And to add to that pressure, we're starting to hear crews tell their drivers rain is 5 miles away. We don't see a lot of rain on the radar. We see a little bit of rain, but remember how long it took this racetrack to dry. It could just be a small shower and this track be shut down for 3 or 4 hours, so the intensity is picking up.
And we're seeing Carl Edwards push it now as he has closed the gap between he and the 78s. This is what the 19 had to say on the radio just moments ago about the weather.
We just told me that there's rain right down the street. Rain right down the street here.
Rain right down the street, and Carl Edwards got right up on the wheel.
And this is what we talked about earlier with the 78. So Carl Edwards now understands I cannot just continue to follow 78 through the corner. I need to try options. He moves up the racetrack. Doesn't look like it worked, though. Jeff maybe lost a little time.
He looked loose to me. When we went up there, he saw the back of the car start moving around just to not have the rear grip that he needed to make that corner.
And again, the gap about 0.4 of a second separating the top 2. Intensity picking up. Carl Edwards has opportunities to make it into the championship 4 here and Phoenix.
He's trying that top lane again. This time the car, you didn't see the back of the car move around. That enabled him to go back to the throttle quicker. Look at the ground he's gaining.
Stand right in the tire tracks until they enter the turn. And then Carl Edwards a little bit higher, that middle line, trying to keep the momentum up on the 19.
Well, he can lose a little bit of time through the middle of the corner because he's going to carry a little bit more speed off, running higher up the racetrack, and that's what he does. He gains time back. It doesn't look as good as 1 and 2, but it looks better in 3 and 4.
We'll see if he gets that same run. Oh, another little wiggle.
Doesn't take much.
Again, the bumps on either end of the track also affecting the way these cars can get back into the gas. Mike.
And Rick, as you pointed out, Carl Edwards working the various lines of this racetrack, and that's what his crew chief Dave Rogers expected out of him today. He said, look, this is a racetrack where he really excels because he knows how to search around, try to find the most grip. And also keep in mind what Carl Edwards said before this race. He said anything short of a championship is disappointing for us. We know the situation we're in, and we're willing to do whatever it takes. We'll lay it all on the line to get that victory tonight. Here it comes. We're going to see exactly what that meant.
Again, they are on pit road. Round lap 187. And let's listen in once again to the 19 radio.
Picks up a little howling sound right front. You copy that? It says picks up a howling sound in the right front.
As soon as we hear that, the gap between the two widens.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be. I mean, you know, it's hard to put myself in his shoes and understand what he's talking about with the howling sound, but it's got to be unnerving.
Martin Truex Jr. trying to hold on out front at Texas. Download Instagram today and follow NASCAR for inside access from around the sport. Welcome back to the AAA Texas 500 from Texas Motor Speedway. Once again, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, and Kurt Busch, the four that are below the cut line.
Yeah, but Carl Edwards is below the cut line by 24 points, but behind Martin Truex Jr. by 0.7 of a second. Those 0.7 of a second change this completely. That win would make Carl Edwards a guaranteed competitor for the championship in Miami.
But he has to get by that 78. And right now, as you mentioned, it's 0.9 of a second that separate the top two.
It's going to continue to get more difficult with the 78, though, as he starts to catch lap traffic.
The different lines run by the top two. Now Martin Truex Jr. trying to get by the 38s. Landon Castle goes to the bottom of the track. So does the 19 of Carl Edwards. And now the gap closing. Closing quickly as Carl Edwards works by the 38 of Castle. And the gap now about 8 car lengths. Joey Logano trying to hang on to third as Chase Elliott has made that high line work. And the momentum for the 24 will try to put it in position to where he can get by the 22 of Logano as they enter one.
Chase Elliott's doing. He's entering the corner against the wall. He's not starting in the middle of the racetrack, then moving up to the wall. And I think that's the best thing to do here. I think if you're going to run the top, you run the top. We saw Carl Edwards earlier trying to run the top, but he really wasn't fully committed to the top. He's kind of in the middle, as opposed to where Chase Elliott is. He is completely committed to running the very top. Of course, it's more laps on tires also, and the slower it gets, the more you want to run the line that Chase Elliott is running.
And Joey Logano, after having the lead, coming to pit road with the lead, but a lap later than Martin Truex Jr., ended up losing the lead off of pit road under the last green flag pit stops. And now Martin Truex Jr. trying to hang on to the lead with the 19 of Carl Edwards chasing back. But he is 0.6 of a second behind still.
Yeah, but it's all about the lap traffic and how they catch it. You see right here, this is going to really hurt the 19 of Carl Edwards as the lap car slides up in front of him. Took away his line for a minute. He couldn't be quite as aggressive through the middle of the corner as he's been. And that allows the 78 to stretch the gap a little bit more, just a few more feet.
Just over 200 feet separating the top two at Texas Motor Speedway. 117 laps to go. And on the road. Green flag pit stops beginning a little bit early, as some people thinking that it might be rain coming, and both the 78 and 19 trying to come to pit road at the same time. 78 has the lead, the 19 fighting for the lead, and they both decide that it's time to come to pit road. Dave?
Denny Hamlin is on pit road, gave up 14 to do that. He'll get 4 tires and fuel.
Martin Truex Jr. came to pit road just moments before. He said something felt very strange in the race car. They're going to make a 4-tire change here on pit road, and no significant adjustments. Meanwhile, 4 tires for the 19 as well as he's away. Marty?
Kevin Harvick says, we've been terrible this run. He said, well, we really haven't been good on any of the runs, but this is by far the worst one of the day. A wedge adjustment, also air pressure adjustment. The car had been way tight for Harvick all evening long. For Kyle Busch, he said, we finally fixed the front end of the car and the handling. Close call with A.J. Allmendinger leaving pit road and Greg Biffle as well, but the car was too loose all the way through. An air pressure adjustment trying to tighten it up, Mike.
Matt Kenseth's car's been loose as well. Last time down pit road, they pulled the Packer. This time they're going to make wedge adjustments on both sides of the race car, along with 4 Goodyear Eagles and Sunoco race fuel. He's away.
Top 3 were Martin Truex Jr., Carl Edwards, and Joey Logano. They left pit road in that same order.
And Rick, what a spectacular job by Martin Truex Jr. and Carl Edwards to get on pit road the way they did. Coming to pit road, it was a chess match. We've proven all night how 1 lap early would make a difference. The 78 commits to pit road, and the 19 doesn't give him an advantage and comes with him. Although the 78 at least seems to be a little more efficient on and off through the pit stop, he stretched out his lead.
Yeah, but watch Carl Edwards. This is an aggressive move. Imagine what he's trying to do. He's trying to get in front of the 78, coming on the pit road, out-braking. Think about that. Think about a road course race where you're getting in the corner trying to out-brake somebody. That's exactly what Carl Edwards tried to pull off. If he could have pulled it off, it would have been a huge change, because now he comes on pit road in the lead versus being in second. He could have come off of pit road with the lead. Aggressive move, but that's the kind of move we need to see from Carl Edwards trying to move into this championship round.
And surprisingly, they came off of pit road fairly close to each other, but Martin Truex Jr. has already put 1.4 seconds between he and Carl Edwards running second now.
Well, there's a lot of things about getting off pit road. There's leaving pit road on the apron, which I know sounds easy, but when you're pushing 100% on the apron, the complete flat of the racetrack, it's dirty, it's very slick down there. You can make up a ton of time and then maximizing your turn 3 speed. Rolling turn 3 off of pit road, getting through 3 and 4. Little things can add up to big differences. Remember, it's 190-mile-an-hour average. If you're off a tenth of a second, half-tenth of a second, it adds up.
Well, the little things are cars and traffic. The 78 blended in front of 2 lap-down cars, the 19 behind 2 lap-down cars. That's 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second every time you make a pass. The lead is stretched out to 2 seconds, but why is this lead so important with 107 to go? Because I'm not sure we're going to see all 107 laps. We talked about the radar. The pop-up showers are coming. You see some moving in the area. We've already seen how tough this track is to dry. At this point in the evening, I'm not sure NASCAR could commit to drying the track. So at this point, it's the most difficult type of race to call if you're a crew chief, because the end point is in flux. When are you going to, what are you truly racing to?
Is that why we saw guys come to pit road a little bit sooner, because they're looking at this radar?
And I want to explain this 78, this leader, Cole Pern, what a job on top of the pit box. He came to pit road significantly early. They can run 50, 55 laps on fuel. We've seen him run 40 to 45 laps over the course of the race. That was under 40. He came to pit road with still 15, 18 laps of fuel on board. That is hard to do. It's much easier for Carl Edwards to come to pit road from second to try to win the race. But what a gutsy call by Cole Pern to call his leader in. To be the leader and the first car on pit road, that's aggressive.
Yeah, and I have to wonder, too, if Martin Truex Jr., Cole Pern, if those guys didn't make a change on their car that is better than the change was made on Carl Edwards' car, because it's 2.5 seconds now. And that's more than just leaving pit road and not getting caught in traffic. Carl Edwards has gotten behind that traffic. He can't get by him. He cannot pass cars that did not have the speed. So you have to wonder if Carl Edwards' car is going the wrong way. Mike.
And talk about going the wrong way. How about Martin Truex Jr.? He's been out front most of the latter part of this race for sure, but he's been in a situation like this before and been bitten by bad luck. So that may be on his mind again as he's hearing something and feeling something in the race car that just does not feel right.
What's going on? Feels like something's broken in this thing. Crazy.
And he feels like that particular part that may be broken might be located in the left rear. We're going to keep very close attention to that particular situation, as he has been the leader. He's out front, but he has to keep that car performing at the level it is right now. And if something's broken, obviously that will not be the case.
We listened to the 19 of Carl Edwards as well. Here's what he had to say.
It's a lot tighter, Dave. No changes whatsoever, just tire shed. Yeah. Something's coming apart. How funny.
So he can smell something as well.
And we talked about it. He said that, you heard Rogers' crew chief, he didn't make a change. He said no changes, and it's just way tighter. But then it's funny how the leader is complaining about his car being something broken. The second place car is complaining about his car being something broken. So these drivers, they're not making it up. They're feeling it, they're hearing it, they're smelling it, but it's hard to to imagine the first two guys are having mechanical issues.
Drivers are worried about something going on with their cars. Crew chiefs are worried about potentially rain in the area. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. It has been a long Sunday, especially for our crew. I want to give a big shout out to our crew. They came here at 7:30 this morning. They waited with us through a 5.5-hour time period to dry the track. Again, the studio for all the rain fill that they were able to give and tell the stories. But spectacular people here, part of this crew. We really appreciate the long hours and day they have put in already.
Rick, Steve, and I both were working race teams for well over 20 years and did not understand that how hard the work it took, what kind of work it took to do this TV. These guys that set the cameras up, do the cameras, do all that. It's unbelievable how much effort, time, and energy they put into it.
You're absolutely right, Jeff. That's one thing I thought I would miss the most about not being a crew chief is the team aspect, but I was completely wrong because it truly is a team. A lot of very talented men and women.
Let's see who is on the move, brought to you by Chevrolet. So we take a look at Casey Kane in the 5. 17 spots for Casey Kane, 13 for Kyle Busch making the move. Marty.
And Rick, it's been a slow climb for Kyle Busch on that 18 team. They finally have the handling where he would like it. Again, the front end working better. They've worked on the back end of the race car. It's been too tight for Kyle Busch. But remember, they got a hole in the front fascia of the 18 car a little bit earlier. They made a temporary fix, or what they thought was going to be a temporary fix. It's held so far. You see that aluminum tape right there on the right front fascia of that 18 car. They do have a more permanent fix, but they haven't had a caution flag pit stop since then to put that on. And it's been funny to watch the points on the left. Kyle Busch all evening long has been +1 or -3 right there on the cut line. It's going to make for a very interesting Phoenix right now, tied with his teammate Denny Hamlin for that final spot.
Again, 7 drivers fighting for 3 positions, and Kurt Busch about to go a lap down. Kurt running in the 17th position as Martin Truex Jr. gets by him. Kelly.
And when he came to pit road during that last round of green flag pit stops, it sounds like they're finally moving in the right direction for the 41 car. They made the same change 2 pit stops in a row, which included a chassis adjustment to the right side of that car. Kurt saying it was getting better, but just still a little bit loose. Another chase driver that came to pit road was the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. He seems to be really happy with his race car. 2 stops in a row now. It has been no changes for the 48, just 4 good years in Sunoco fuel, Dave.
And Kelly, the 22 of Joey Logano on the last run was the freest it had been all night. So they made an air pressure adjustment for him on that. But the interesting thing that I found is when he left pit road, he was on the same pit strategy as leader Martin Truex and second place Carl Edwards. And as he was leaving, they went by, but he could see him. Well, the gap, 4 to 5 seconds since then. He's not been able to keep pace.
And the 24, using that high line, has been able to get by him as well. So Logano has dropped back to 4th. And now we see Chase Elliott breaking into the top 3. This young driver, future of NASCAR, has been very impressive in his rookie season, just 20 years old out of Dawsonville. And Chase Elliott still searching for that first win in the Sprint Cup Series, and even this weekend, suffering from flu-like symptoms and soldiering through and looking very impressive once again as he's in the top 3. Behind him, another young star, the 3 of Austin Dillon, as they've been able to both get by Joey Logano. We mentioned Austin Dillon winning the pole on Friday, leading the field to the green flag earlier today, and still searching for his first win in the Sprint Cup Series, and now fighting for position with Chase Elliott.
Yeah, Austin Dillon in this 3 car, it seems like, is better than most cars on older tires. He seems to really surge forward on older tires. The problem is, as we mentioned, these teams are short pitting 15, 20, 25 laps of a fuel run, so I'm not sure they're running long enough for this 3 to show that speed. If they would run out 50, 55 laps, I think it would really pay off, Joe.
Yeah, good battle right here between these two guys. Talk about how cars you're racing in front of you, even though they may be lap cars or slower cars, how much they impact you. And you can see it right there. I thought Austin Dillon had a run on Chase Elliott, but with A.J. Allmendinger on the bottom, he just wasn't able to complete the pass.
And Logano still chasing right in the middle of the track. These two youngsters working the higher line. Chase Elliott and Austin Dillon still fighting for the 3rd spot as Martin Truex Jr. has now led 59 laps at Texas. And just seconds ago, the 3 of Austin Dillon sliding through 3 and 4 has brought the caution out for the 6th time. Entering turn 3.
He didn't think the 23 was going to race him down into the corner, and the 23 was there and turned, made contact. I think Austin Dillon gets really fortunate right here. Never really hits anything. May have damaged the splitter just a little bit, but really didn't lose that many spots.
Well, yeah, you talked earlier about the lap cars, and he was committing to the bottom to try to get by the 24, but that lap car got him.
Yeah, the 23 had just come off with new tires, so he was going at a much higher rate than Austin Dillon expected him to be going. We've seen the difference in new tires, how much faster they are, and I think Austin Dillon just didn't anticipate the 23 was going to have that much speed.
Austin was fighting for the 3rd spot with Chase Elliott when that spin occurred, and so the caution has come out once again. Good or bad for Martin Truex Jr. and Carl Edwards, who are running up front?
Well, they had, stretched out to a lead, so without a doubt they don't really want to lose that lead, but now it comes down to the pit crews. We're going to really see what pit crew can perform, because under 100 laps to go with rain in the area, these pit stops vitally important.
They're lining back up again, and man, if this is crazy, remember what's coming up next. Phoenix next week, Saturday on NBCSN. It'll be the Xfinity Series. That coverage beginning at 7. Then Sunday, Sprint Cup Series elimination race. Coverage begins at 1:30 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, we just saw Austin Dillon spin between the turns 3 and 4, and he didn't lose a spot. Caution came out. Joey Logano was behind him. He didn't get by him, so it really did not cost him anything.
So you see the 78-19 hugging the white line as they get ready to come onto pit road. Mike.
For the 78, it's a bit of a similar situation to what they faced back in the spring. Then they elected to stay out, not pit. Ended up getting beaten by cars who did pit with fresher tires. Martin Truex Jr. on pit road, he'll take 4. Meanwhile, Carl Edwards on pit road as well. He says he needs a little bit more grip. Very tight on his short run to make an air pressure adjustment, along with 4 tires there. Marty?
Kevin Harvick comes in running 6. He said everything we do to the car just seems to make it worse. It's getting tighter as we've gone along. Rodney Childers said, I think the track went through a swing, tape on the grill, and a wedge adjustment trying to free him up, Dave.
Joey Logano back to 5th on this run. A little free in and off, a little tight in traffic. First time they've gone to the wedge wrench. 4 tires and fuel. He'll pick up 2 spots.
Impressive on pit road. The 19 of Carl Edwards takes a spot away from Truex Jr.
Talking about getting that money.
Savings worth the hype. Now that's Progressive.
The big fight between Carl Edwards and Martin Truex Jr. The race to pit road. The advantage went to Truex Jr., but then Carl Edwards and that 19 team, an impressive stop. And the 19 team and Carl Edwards won the race off of pit road under this most recent stop. And now the 19 team out front. Our aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods as we look down on race leader Carl Edwards. And why is that important? That this team had a sub 12-second pit stop to get out in front of the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Mike Massaro.
And we're going to catch up with one of the guys who pulled off that pit stop, front tire carrier Kevin Harris on the team. What can you tell me about that stop? It looks flawless.
It was a pretty good stop. It was probably sub 11 and a half seconds.
All night we've been right in that wheelhouse, around 11 seconds. The 78's been killing it, teammates of ours, and we just knew if we stayed consistent, we'd hope it would pay off in the long run. Hopefully it has on this restart. Starting to feel this rain coming on, so better late than never, I guess.
What's it mean for a team member like you to give your driver the lead in a race this important?
Oh, it feels great. I mean, it really makes everybody remember it's such a team sport. Carl's out there wheeling it. When he comes down pit road, he's got the confidence in us, you know, to give him a good stop and keep him up there. So it feels great.
And now Carl's going to try to keep it up there, guys.
He has chosen the outside line for this restart. Martin Truex Jr. will be on the inside. And again, these drivers, and Carl jokingly on the radio was saying, well, it's starting to rain. I feel a little uncomfortable being out here to get this restarted, because he scored as the race leader. He'd love it to rain right now and get this win and solidify a position in the championship 4. But now he's going to race for it. Chase Elliott on the high side, trying to get by the 78 per second. Sparks continuing to fly. Carl Edwards coming into this race. A 32-point deficit to the cut line, knowing this team knew they had to win. They need to get to victory lane if they want to keep their championship hopes alive. And now a 4-car advantage over second place and into the wall. Hard hit by the 3 of Austin Dillon. Sliding through the 13. Casey Mears gets into the back of the 44 of Brian Scott. That was a very hard hit by the 3 of Austin Dillon, though, as he came out of turn 4. We see the front end totaled on Casey Mears, number 13.
Yeah, heavy damage, that 3's.
Everybody over the wall.
It's going to have to go to the garage. You hear Slugger.
Take it to the garage, Austin. Go to the garage.
I think that's a better assessment of the damage to have to go to the garage. He's racing real hard here with Kevin Harvick, Jeff.
Yeah, see the 4-car on the outside, Austin on the very bottom. Kevin goes to get in behind him. 3-car got loose. 4-car got into the back of him. You saw the 3-car wiggle just a little bit. Had to get a different angle to see the 4-car make contact before, and that's what got him loose. It's hard to tell from that angle.
2 racing very close after this restart.
What a disappointing night for Austin. We've talked about how good he was running. His team's starting to build some momentum. It's a good view right here.
You can hear right there, even Kevin Harvick wasn't hard back into the gas. So without a doubt, there was contact. He got into the back of the 3. I don't believe it was on purpose. It seems like the 3 slid up in front of him. Harvick wasn't, in my mind, hard in the gas. He was kind of pedaling it, and they just made contact at a very bad spot in the corner.
And we saw the 13 as well.
Just big impact right there for Austin. 2 Gibbs cars behind him. You see the 13. He probably was trying to get slowed down. The guys behind him did not get slowed down.
And all of that damage to the front end came from hitting the grass.
Yeah.
Tore the front end of that car off.
Right behind all that wreck, Kyle Busch, he's done a really good job of working himself up. Just a little bit ago, we talked about him almost being a lap down. It's all the way back up to 5th, and everybody's on pit road.
Kelly.
including Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, who said that he was a little bit tight firing off that last run. He had to raise the track bar inside the cockpit to try to help loosen it up a bit. Marty?
Kelly Kyle Busch has gained a lot of spots in the last few laps, up to 6 now, getting through that wreck a little quicker than everybody else. 4 fresh Goodyear tires for him. Kevin Harvick said he did nothing intentional there with Austin Dillon. He said his car fired off a little bit free. 4 fresh Goodyear tires for him as well. All these teams, plenty of sets of tires, Dave.
Including Denny Hamlin. That was part of their discussion, and when they started pitting around him, Denny said, "I'm coming," and he gave up 12th place to come to pit road.
Top 5 stayed out on the track. Edwards, Truex Jr., Elliott, Logano, and Blaney as we go NASCAR nonstop.
Oh my gosh, Johnson forces the issue into turn 3. Johnson forces the issue.
Sunoco, the essence of racing.
2 people can eat all this food for $9.99.
And it's all my favorites.
Yeah.
2 Conies or 2 burgers and 2 tots and 2 drinks.
Yeah.
It's like I'm seeing double.
Totally. Speaking of double, look. Maybe they want to hang out.
Yeah, I'll talk to him.
Just be cool,
I'll
man.
be cool.
No, you're
I
not
know
gonna
how to be cool.
You're gonna be.
You guys want to hang out sometime?
Oh, man.
I think I nailed it.
2 can eat for $9.99, so everyone can try our classic crispy chicken sandwich all month long and get buy one, get one free wings Monday through Thursday. This is how you Sonic.
Idols are all around, in the unseen corners of the world. No monuments built in their honor, or mountains adorned with their face. Because heroes aren't driven by fame. They're carved from courage, guts, glory, Ram.
So what's your news?
I got a job. I'll be programming at GE.
Oh, I got a job too.
Zazzies.
The app where you put fruit hats on animals? I love that.
Guys, I'll be writing code that helps machines communicate.
I just zazzied you. Look at it. Oh!
I can do dogs, hamsters, guinea pigs, you name it. I'm gonna transform the way the world works. I programmed that hat, and I can do cassava melons. I'll be helping turbines power cities.
I put a turbine on a cat.
I can make hospitals run more efficiently.
This isn't a competition.
Kids nowadays, they need to look up from the electronics and take in the history that surrounds them. Like this place. Did you know President Jimmy Carter used to be a ticket taker here? And the King's last race here was Jeff Gordon's first. That's why I always tell my kids to keep one foot in the past.
Another on the gas.
Atlanta Motor Speedway heats up next March with the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 weekend. Get your tickets at amsracetix.com.
Following tonight's race coverage on NBCSN, tune in to the NASCAR America Post-Race Show. Right here also on NBCSN, presented by Advance Auto Parts. There's always 2 sides to every story, and here's what the 4 had to say about what just took place.
Damage stuff. So I just, as he came up, I got back to him, and he checked up, and I touched him again.
And here's what the 3 car and their team thought happened.
Yeah, he flat out wrecked it, man. Just write down that number. We're going to Phoenix next week. He's going to have to win. We don't. That's crazy, man.
So again, 2 sides to every story. The 4 and the 3 have obviously different perspectives. Kelly.
Well, and let's hear what the driver of that 3, Austin Dillon, has to say. First of all, glad to see you're okay after that hard hit. Kevin says that he thought you checked up. He didn't do anything intentionally. How did you see it play out?
I mean, he sucked down on my door tighter than anybody had all night. He knew how tight he was on my door. That's why I got tight and slid in front of him. So he didn't check. He had the opportunity to. He didn't like it, I guess. Silver Spoon Kid was outrunning him tonight, so we'll be all right. We got 2 weeks left, and we just want to come out and win a race.
Yeah, we heard Slugger say, hey, write down that number. We're going to Phoenix where he's going to need a win and you don't. What are your thoughts on moving forward?
I don't know. I'm here to win races. That's all that matters to me.
Thank you, Austin.
Well, what Austin Dillon's talking about is a 4-car. He believed the 4-car had gotten way too close to him, and that's what made him tight, and that's why he got in front of the 4-car. You know, listen, when you run as well as Austin Dillon's run, and you have this happen to you, you're going to be upset. You're not going to be happy about it, and it's just the way it is. We heard Kevin Harvick on the in-car. We heard him out of the throttle. I don't think Kevin Harvick wrecked him on purpose, but if you're Austin Dillon, you're not going to be happy about this by any means, I promise you.
And so they go to work on the 3. The driver of the 13, Casey Mears, was checked and released from the infield care center. So as they continue to work, we heard Austin Dillon say they're here to win races. They want to win a race. Austin Dillon yet to find victory lane in the Sprint Cup Series. Has won a championship in both the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, and has moved up with the family team. Richard Childress, grandfather of Austin and Ty Dillon. And again, they go to work to get that 3-car ready to go back out onto the track. 41 has been penalized for a pit road infraction. So that penalty by one of the Chase drivers, Kurt Busch, definitely hurting his possibilities of making it to the championship 4.
Yeah, we talk about the wreck with the 3 and the 4. You also remember it's all the crew guys, right?
Yeah.
We heard Slugger Labby say, hey, man, he wrecked you on purpose. Well, think about the time, the effort, and energy that those teams put into these cars, and that's like a family member almost, that car is. And when it's performing well, it hurts. I mean, it makes you mad, it makes you angry, and you heard all that.
So the situation with the 41, he was the free pass car. So when you're under the free pass, you can only pit the first time that you're eligible to pit, put fuel in it. If you do it a second time, I think that's the penalty. Kelly?
Yeah, the first time they came down to get 4 tires. Second time was to put some tape on the grill, and that's what they've now been penalized for, as you see them sitting there in their pit box. Just to compound the issues here for the 41, I can tell you they've been having some radio issues. Kurt Busch has been having trouble hearing crew chief Tony Gibson and vice versa. So you can imagine a little bit of frustration as Kurt just sits and waits it out here for this penalty.
So just to clear this up, the 41 can pit as many times as they would like as the free pass car. But to make sure it's not an advantage to be the free pass car, you're only allowed to put fuel in the first time. So the second time the 41 came to pit road to add the tape, they engaged the fuel can. That is a penalty. You're only allowed to put fuel in the first time by. That's a simple reason, because we saw cars winning on fuel mileage because they were the free pass car. NASCAR goes, okay, hold on, there shouldn't be an advantage. So this is the second time they come to pit road. We're going to put a little tape on the nose, but the problem is that's fine. It's the gentleman at the back of the car. You can't plug in. And I put that a little bit on the fuel man. Those are the small details you have to understand as a pit crew member. That one's a little odd, but it's going to cost the 41 a lap for sure. No telling how many points.
So out front, it is Carl Edwards. He was able to win the race off of pit road and stay out front on the most recent restart. And Carl Edwards has been strong. We take a look at wins on mile-and-a-half tracks presented by Sprint. 11 career wins on mile-and-a-halves, and 3 of those 11 have come right here at Texas Motor Speedway. Sprint's network reliability now within 1% of Verizon. Switch today and save 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile rates. Visit a Sprint store or sprint.com/network today. Once again, they'll line up side by side, and Carl Edwards has chosen the outside line again.
So, Rick, there's a lot of focus on Carl Edwards, the race leader, because of that automatic berth that a win can get you. But it's not just about him. It's also about points. The 22 of Joe Logano, plus 1 point above the cut line. The 20 of Matt Kenseth, one behind. The 18 plus 2 above. Well, the 18 chose to come to pit road, put fresh tires on. While they're only 3 laps fresher, what will that decision do? Right here in this restart, if those fresh tires are going to work, it's going to be right here.
64 laps to go as they enter the restart zone. A green flag back in the air. They go down the backstretch and into turn 3. 22. What a move by the 22 of Joey Logano. He goes by Martin Truex Jr. and moves up to second. Logano so dominant at the beginning of this race, led 178 laps. Now, can he chase down the 19 of Carl Edwards? The other thing that comes into play, the possibility of rain. We take a peek at the radar. It continues to look like it is closing in on this racetrack. The gap between 1 and 2, about 8 car lengths now. Carl Edwards all the way back to Joey Logano. There's the radar on the right side. You see some of the green moving in right at the dot of Texas Motor Speedway.
Think about it. We've talked about it tonight. Joe Gibbs Racing won so many races, almost half the races in the regular season, winless in the first 7 races of the playoffs. Carl Edwards has that issue at Martinsville, loses all of those points. While mathematically not a must-win, Jeff, we've talked about it. They had to approach it as a must-win, and that's what he's doing right now, leading with rain closing in.
And I think Joey Logano, I think he has to think about this as a must-win also. If this race ended right now, Joey Logano is only 3 points to the good as far as being in the chase. So obviously, if he wins this race, he's moving to Homestead. So he also, I think, has to have the same sense of urgency.
And I think they all realize that other than Kurt Busch out in 22nd, the other 7 chase drivers are all in the top 10, Rick.
Pretty good gap between Carl Edwards and Joey Logano. 2 chase drivers fighting for an opportunity for the championship 4. Almost a second separating the 2.
And watch Joey Logano on the outside of Martin Truex as he enter turn 1 right there. The 22 gets his left front on the right rear of the 78. That slows the 78 up, puts more drag on his car, but also takes the car out of the racetrack. Doesn't allow Martin Truex to aggressively be in the throttle. Martin Truex battles back. Joey Logano has the enough momentum, though, to clear the 78. That pass off of turn 4 started in turn 1.
Coming to the restart, Rick.
Clear high. Still down there, 78. See him?
You hear the spotter working right there. That's always a good sign when you clear that guy and get out to that cleaner air. But as I was mentioning, coming to the restart, I mentioned that Kyle Busch had come to pit road, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick for those 2 or 3 lap fresher tires, but they really aren't paying off. They're still stuck back there in the 5th, 6th, and 7th position.
Edwards, Logano, Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, the top 5. Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, Casey Kane, Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, the top 10. Only 16 cars on the lead lap. Ryan Blaney, Ryan Newman, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Brad Keselowski all on the lead lap. Mike.
Carl Edwards getting some coaching from his crew chief, Dave Rogers, telling him, maintain the gap you have and do not go any harder than you need to at this particular point. We'll tell you when you need to get on it, but right now, it's good enough. Doesn't want him to use up his stuff at this point, Dave.
Mike, remember the 22, one of the best cars all weekend, sort of lost their way when they pitted just 1 lap later than the leaders during green flag pit stops. That put them behind, and then the handling went away just a little bit. They've had a chance to adjust on it to try to get Joey back to where he was earlier in the race.
As Carl Edwards starting to drive away from Joey Logano, you saw Joey change his line, ran in the middle of the racetrack.
One of the things that has happened is since they came to pit road, they won't have enough fuel unless they start saving quickly to make it all the way to the end. You'd mentioned earlier that fuel window between 54 and 56 laps. Right now, there are 55 laps to go. Do you think we'll get to the end of this race before potentially rain?
Well, I think rain is going to affect the end of the race before the fuel will. That rain continues to close in. 55 laps is a long time. At roughly 30 seconds a lap, you're looking at 20, 25 minutes depending on caution. So I expect rain to end this race, or at least delay this race before we get to the checkered flag.
Out in front, though, it's Carl Edwards and Joey Logano fighting for a spot in the championship 4 as we go NASCAR nonstop.
People know me as Dale Earnhardt Jr. race car driver, but there's more to me than that. At my office, they call me Boss Man. I scout the talent, close the deals, do it all with a firm handshake. Gentlemen, to others, I'm Water Cooler Dale. So I got this new chair, had it for a couple weeks. Somebody keeps lowering it. God Dang it. I mean, I reset it to where I want it, and I go back to my office, and I sit down, and it's lower. No, someone's lowering it. For protecting my small business and more, Nationwide is on your side.
Today we're going to be comparing these two truck beds. Let's start over here with this aluminum bed. Put your toolbox up here.
Whoa, that's a big hole. That is unbelievable.
Now let's check out the roll-formed steel bed of the Silverado. Same spot, same empty toolbox.
Took it way better. The steel held up.
You don't have to wait until Black Friday to make a strong decision. Find your tag and get 20% cash back, or get 0% financing for 72 months on select remaining 2016 Silverado double cabs in stock. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Hey, I'm Paul, and I used to ask if you could hear me now with Verizon. Not anymore. I'm with Sprint now, because guess what? It's 2016 and every network is great. In fact, Sprint's reliability is now within 1% of Verizon. And Sprint saves you 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile rates. So I switched to Sprint, and millions more have too. Can you hear that?
Don't let a 1% difference cost you twice as much. Switch to Sprint and save 50% today.
Before you open your eyes, at Smithfield, we're busy slow smoking. Before you sizzle, we hand select and hand trim. Before you were born, we gave birth to flavor, which you'll find in every bite of our naturally delicious hickory smoked bacon. Flavor hails from Smithfield.
We're underway in Chicagoland. Kyle Larson out of the round of 16.
Some highs and the 2 goes around. Brad Keselowski, a lot of damage to the front end of that car.
Truex smoking. He's lost an engine. He'll be eliminated. Elliott knocked out of the chase. Who will win the championship? Welcome back. We ride along with Kyle Busch. An eventful weekend for him. That'll all be broken down on NASCAR America. A show daily at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 90 minutes. And of course, looking ahead, only one more opportunity before the championship 4 is determined. And on the radio, we've heard a couple radios that have said there is light drops around the racetrack. The rain is coming. And remember, it took 5.5 hours to dry this track. If rain comes and it has enough substance to it, it could end the race. I want to take a look at the crew, at least the 19 crew. Take a look at this guy. 5 minutes. The rain is coming. 5 minutes, he thinks. I think it's under that. You see a little bit of precipitation on one of our camera lenses. Carl Edwards trying to stay in front of Joey Logano. Coming into this race, he knew he had to win.
Copy the rain.
You understand Logano's crew is down there doing 50 minutes.
Right. No rain. No rain.
It's breaking up is what Logano's crew is saying.
The radar shows green all over the racetrack. Moving in this direction. Carl Edwards trying to stay out front. Again, there's the precipitation on that camera. The question is, when does it get to be a safety issue for the drivers? If it's raining hard enough, they will definitely have to do something about it. More rain coming from the south and the west.
And remember, we talked to crew member on the 19 car. Look at the heavy rain coming down. This lead was taken on pit road, remember, Rick.
Caution's just about ready to come out. It's going to have to, I think.
We see the raindrops coming. Still 45 laps to go. There's the caution. Carl Edwards and that 19 team with an incredible pit stop got out in front of Martin Truex Jr. was able to hang on to the lead, and now precipitation one more time.
Stay out.
Yeah.
And a very smart call there.
No matter what.
In case the radio breaks, I want the last transmission to be stay out.
But you heard what he said. He said, we're going to take this gamble no matter what. Even if pit road gets open, we're not pitting under any circumstance. We're going to assume it's going to rain.
And rain hard enough that it will affect the track.
That is the point. That is the point.
That's right, because remember, that's the question. Will the track get wet? If the track doesn't get wet, pit road will open, and you'll have the option to pit. So will Denny Hamlin in 11th come and take tires, because he'll have 20-lap fresher tires in the field. It's really, the question mark now is, will this rain wet the racetrack?
Yeah, it seems like a simple call, right? Don't pit because it's raining. Well, if it rains for 2 minutes and they get the track dry, you're sitting out there without tires on, so it seems like an easy decision, but it's not.
The question is, how hard will it rain?
Right, and pit road's open.
It looked like it was raining fairly hard when we saw that shot from pit road. A lot of guys may gamble and try to come to pit road.
Jimmy Johnson in 6th. I mean, points really don't matter to the 48, so Chad Canals might come to pit road. We'll have to see what they all think about their radar.
The big question is Harvick and Kenseth. They're 7th and 8th. Denny Hamlin in 11th. What do they do?
And so Jimmy Johnson does pit. That's absolutely what I would expect Chad Canals to do. Why would he stay on the racetrack? He's only here for trophies.
Kelly.
That's exactly it. He said pit if they stay out. So they brought Jimmy Johnson down. He said his car's been the same the last 3 to 4 runs, which is really gets a little bit tight when he runs down low, gets freer when he runs high. They have not been making adjustments to this 48, but it will be 4 fresh tires for Jimmy Johnson.
Also on pit road, the 2 of Brad Keselowski, the 42 of Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney in the 21, Alex Bowman in the 88.
I like what Chad is at in this situation. He knows he perhaps could lose 5, 10, 15 spots by pitting, but he doesn't care, because with 20-lap fresher tires, if this race restarts, Jeff, 20-lap fresher tires at Texas, he'll drive right through the field. I think the leaders will have to pit. If we get one to go, then the crew chiefs are really going to have to decide what they do.
But again, you can still see the raindrops coming down. NASCAR will have a decision to make.
One thing to remember with all the race cars on the racetrack, they've been on the racetrack, you know, for several hours now. There's heat in the racetrack that was not in the racetrack when it rained earlier today. So it will take more to lose the racetrack for rain than it did earlier today.
So again, they're riding around. Brett Bodine is the pace car driver, and NASCAR will rely heavily on input from Brett Bodine, who's out on the racetrack. They will be asking him, what does it look like? What does the track look like while you're riding around out there?
We're losing it here a little bit. Yep.
We're just listening in. That's the 19 of Carl Edwards talking about what he sees on the track. Kelly.
And you see the 41 of Kurt Busch once again coming down pit road. He's really struggled with his car all day. They just haven't quite been able to get the adjustments, the handling quite right on it. But they'll give it one last shot and give him some fresh Goodyear tires in case this race goes back green.
And the rain's coming down harder now. Let's listen into the 19 radio.
Remember, Dave, there aren't many things that get us worked up like this, so we gotta enjoy it. The worst part is I'm losing my voice. I'm trying to yell and I can barely talk.
Dave Rogers, crew chief for Carl Edwards, Jason Edleski up on top of the spotter stand.
I don't want to be dumping the clutch here. Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Hey, Carl Edwards worried about everything right now. He's like, I don't want to be dumping the clutch right now. I don't want to shut the car off. Yeah. I don't want anything to go wrong with this.
You say worried, but he's seen the silly things that can happen, and now the rain is really picking up.
Yeah, I think the track's wet now. I think that looks like to me the track is very wet.
Completely. I would say next lap will bring you down.
Yeah, I think
and I'm in agreement with that. It is raining very, very hard. The rain coming down, pouring on this racetrack. And again, we saw how long it took to dry earlier today. 5.5 hours to dry earlier today with only 42 laps to go. I would guess that NASCAR would look at this as a complete race. And again, I applaud NASCAR as far as what a valiant effort. They and the track, Texas Motor Speedway, Eddie Gossage here, the president, they did an incredible job of getting this track ready to race. We got 293 laps of racing in.
Just short of pit stall 27.
So you're hearing them More than likely, they will be bringing the cars onto pit road.
What an incredible job by the 19 driver, Carl Edwards, by the team, bringing a car that had the pace to keep the lead after the pit crew got them the lead. This win, if it ends up being a win for the 19 car, was truly a team effort. And I think, you know, that's a great wave to ride into Miami. Think about how close he came to winning a championship, tying Tony Stewart in the points. Tying Tony Stewart in the points. Look at the crew. Gas man, jack man, tire changes, tire carriers. Those 6 gentlemen right there put that 11-second pit stop together that got Carl Edwards the lead.
And I think it's fair to say that they were all the best tonight when they needed to be. They had more speed tonight than they've had in the chase. They gave themselves a shot. They gave the pit crew a shot. They gave the driver a shot. They all worked together to put themselves in this position. And when they got in that position, they capitalized on it.
It wasn't officially a must-win situation for Carl Edwards entering this race, although he was 32 points down when he entered. Of the 8, he was currently 8th. But they took it on as a must-win situation. This team knew they needed to put everything together tonight to give them an opportunity to still run for a championship. And Carl Edwards knows the pressure that goes along with running for a championship. It was a couple years ago. He and Tony Stewart racing for the title at Homestead Miami Speedway. They were running 1 and 2. Tony Stewart was leading the race. Carl Edwards was running second. They ran that way for almost 20 laps at the end of the race, running the exact same speed, and it ended up being a tie in points. Carl Edwards lost that one by a close one. We'll be right back.
Before Danny got what he was dreaming about for the holidays. Before his mom earned 1% cash back everywhere, every time. And his dad earned 2% back at grocery stores and wholesale clubs. Even before they earned 3% back on gas, Danny's parents used their Bank Americard Cash Rewards credit card to give him the best day ever. That's the joy of rewarding connections. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/getcashback.
If Carl wins today, I'm going to do a backflip. Maybe when you're dreaming. Guys, I'm telling you, I can do a backflip. Yeah, I've seen Carl do it a million times. Oh, that's neighborly. Enough. You're good, man. That is a banner. Maybe one of the wings. Nice one. Yeah, that's good.
Toyota. Let's go places.
All right, dude, you got this. You got to stick the landing.
Hey, man, you want a wing?
Unleash your refreshing citrus kick. Do the do.
What is normal? Our normal is 200 miles per hour. It's 500 degrees. It's protection for 15,000 miles. And 40 below. Our normal is anything but. Mobil 1. Energy lives here.
Golden Corral's 7-day shrimp extravaganza just raised the stakes. Every day at dinner, enjoy new Founder Sirloin and non-stop shrimp. Plus it up on the weekends with premium shrimp and new garlic herb buttered sirloin. It's non-stop shrimp and steak, all for one low price. Only at Golden Corral.
And the drivers have just been told that they can get out of their cars. And so we're seeing Carl Edwards climb out of his car, but he stays close by. And look at the celebration. It has just been declared official. Carl Edwards wins at Texas.
Do a backflip?
I was just getting ready to say, normally it's a backflip when Carl Edwards wins a race, but he does it off the door of the car.
Last year, Carl Edwards missed by 5 points after a rain-shortened race at Phoenix. So what comes around goes around. That's the way this sport normally works.
Carl Edwards celebrating at Texas Motor Speedway. The moment presented by Sunoco, fueling victories all season long. And we saw how elated Kevin Harris, one of the crew members, was after getting Carl Edwards out there with the lead. Mike.
Lots of celebration down here on pit road. Carl Edwards getting congratulated. Talk about clutch. You came in, you knew you needed the victory, and here it is. What was the night like, being able to get this win and advance to the championship 4?
I actually enjoyed it. The pressure was really mounting, and obviously it's what we had to do. Dave and the guys, they got me off of pit road first. That's what won it for us. So my pit crew has worked really hard this year, so just can't thank them enough. Sport Clips, Era, Stanley, Toyota, everybody that's behind this team. We got a shot at the championship. We're going to Homestead. This is going to be great.
That 11-second pit stop, just as you alluded to, what did that mean to you for your guys to get behind you like that and get you off pit road first and give you the lead against a very strong Martin Truex car?
I've got an amazing group of guys, and they work so well together. They've got my back all the time. Dave is, man, he's like a brother, just a great guy. And all my guys, I can't thank him enough. TRD, Comcast, Xfinity, Subway, everybody, Stanley, Cessna Sprint. You know, this is, we have a shot at the championship, and that's all we wanted this year. And I can't wait to go to Homestead. It's going to be a blast.
How concerned were you if we did go green to the finish? Logano was looking very strong.
Well, we were in a bad spot if we went green again. But okay, so the last run before it rained, I think we could have held him off. I'm not sure. He was really good on the bottom. My car was starting to go away. I ran pretty hard there at the start, but man, that's fun. And Martin did a great job. If we wouldn't have beat him off of pit road, obviously we wouldn't have got this. But man, it was really fun chasing him down and racing with him the run before that.
So we're not in victory lane, but are we going to get to see the backflip?
Man, I don't know. I think I'm going to let that one. I'm going to keep the backflip for Homestead. That's what I'm going to do. It's probably a safe thing to do.
All right, so you are a championship contender officially, one of the championship 4. How big is this for you?
This is huge. I don't think it's sunk in yet. This is cool. This team has really worked hard all year. And man, it's just it's really cool. That's all we said we needed was a shot, and now we're going to go to Homestead. We're going to do what we have to do. This was a great test. We came here, knew what we had to do, and we performed the way we needed to, and I really believe we can do that at Homestead.
Congratulations on the victory.
This is awesome.
Carl Edwards back in the mix, looking for the Sprint Cup Series championship here in 2016. Rick?
Amazing how rain can affect a driver and the possibility of a championship. A year ago at Phoenix, remember, the rain came at Phoenix, and Carl Edwards was not able to advance to the championship 4. This year at Texas, the rain comes, and he will advance to the championship 4.
Yeah, and you think about this as a guy that basically lost the championship in the closest battle ever. They were tied, scored the same amount of points in 2011 as Tony Stewart. It went to the tiebreaker, race wins. Tony Stewart owned it. He became the champion. You have to think he's been reliving that. Can't wait to get back. You heard it. Just wants a shot back at Miami to win a championship.
And let's go to Dave Burns. He's with Joey.
Yeah, standing by with Joey here, who Carl just came over and said good race, but I know the look on your face when you got out, such disappointment.
Yeah, second stinks, man. We had such a fast car, especially early in the race, and we just lost the handle a little bit in the middle. Then we got it better. Had a good restart there at the end, and started running down to 19 the last 2-3 laps, a few tenths a lap. And I thought we can get that AAA Fusion back out front. And you know, the rain came a little bit sooner than I wanted it to. And been interesting if we got another 10 or 15 laps, what would have happened. But you know, it is what it is. We're disappointed with second. I think right now I think we're in right now, but I'm not really sure. Sure, would have been nice to be locked in. But you know, overall, getting a second place finish will help. if there is a tie for next week, because everything seems to be really close.
Early on, you led all the laps. Was it as simple middle of the race as that one extra lap on the track during the green flag cycle that kind of set your day off?
It could have been. You know, it seemed like once we lost the lead, you know, and then you get in traffic and you lose that clean air, and it's hard to get back up there. You know, and it's funny to think that could have been it. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Who knows? But overall, everyone did a great job, and that's what our pit crew was on it today. And we had a very fast car. We came here with our guns loaded, and we showed what we were made out of. Just missed it just by a little bit.
Todd told me this morning the next 2 tracks, this one and Phoenix, are good for you. Do you have confidence in Phoenix?
I have confidence everywhere we go with this race team, and I honestly do. And just overall, like I said, we're second. We got a good car for Phoenix as well, and we'll see if we can tune that in and try to get a win there.
Down but not out, Joey Logano.
Take a look at the standings. 2 drivers, each with a win, will advance into the championship 4. And you look down in 7th, Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick has won at Phoenix 8 times. He's won 5 of the last 6 Phoenix races. So you have to look at him as potentially a favorite going into this last race of the round of 8. And then the rest of the drivers separated by 3 points.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle. Look at Logano, Busch, Kenseth, Hamlin. I mean, that is going to be a tight race. And again, Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, they're all teammates. There's not enough spots for them.
Right.
They're going to have to find a way. Somebody's going to have to stand tall.
Well, we saw the strategies early in the race for cars to stay out to lead a lap. The 22 got 2 bonus points. The 19, 18, and 11 all got a bonus point for leading the lap. 1 point is what it's going to come down to at Phoenix.
Car's been pushed into victory lane. The celebration will continue. The elation for one driver. He has now locked himself into the championship 4. Next stop, Phoenix, Saturday on NBCSN. It's the Xfinity Series, future stars of the sport. That coverage at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then Sunday on NBC, the Chase Elimination Race. The Championship 4 will be determined. That coverage beginning at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Kevin Harvick so good at that racetrack, and just moments ago, Marty caught up with him.
Well, unfortunately for Kevin Harvick, right when the rain came, I think that's when you finally said the car's pretty good. How much of a struggle was the handling of the race car on the 4 tonight?
Yeah, I never said that. It's, you know, our Busch Beer Chevy just was off. We were tight, we were loose, we were kind of all over the place. We'd take off okay, and then we'd fall way off at the end of the run. But just want to apologize to the 3. You know, he kind of came up there, and you know, when he slept in front of me, he got loose, and then when he checked up, I hit him again. That was not anything that I wanted to see. But all in all, everybody battled and did all they could, and we just didn't have a fast enough car.
I was going to ask you about that. They were sort of angry about it. Slugger Labby was, at least, saying there seemed like there was intent. You clearly said on your radio there was no intent there.
Yeah, I mean, Slugger says a lot of things that he shouldn't. So, all in all, I mean, there was no intent there. I like racing with Austin. I like everything that they do, and there was no reason to. I was running 7th and 6th. I mean, we were on a restart there, and he slid up and got loose, and I hit the back of him.
This is the type of moment the 4 team loves. You go to Phoenix, your best racetrack, with your back against the wall. Can you deliver, though, in the back to the wall situation?
We've done it. I don't know how many times, so we'll just go there and do what we always do and race as hard as we can.
All right, Phoenix, obviously a very good racetrack for them. They've won there 8 times, including 5 of the last 6 races.
So you hear Kevin Harvick and the talk that he had and what he saw. At the same time, Austin Dillon remembers the communication that Kevin Harvick had when he and Austin's brother Ty Dillon got into it in a truck race. That was 4 years ago at Martinsville when Kevin Harvick called him out. So that will be interesting, obviously, when we go to Phoenix between those 2 drivers.
Well, yeah, you have to wonder if Kevin Harvick and his team can do it again. I mean, I know we say that he's been the master of Phoenix, and he has been, but it's not easy to win these races. And we've talked about it several times. You keep putting yourself, you know, back to the wall. It's hard to keep making those, you know, incredible moments. And they can do it again. It's going to be unbelievable. I mean, at some point, the odds are against you. Continue to have them do that, but they are going to their best racetrack.
So Carl Edwards in victory lane. His teammate Denny Hamlin with Dave.
He would have appreciated a victory lane trip as well. But put this in perspective for us, Denny. 9th today after the slow start that your weekend got off to.
Yeah, not terrible, not good. You know, it's just kind of in between. You know, I thought we had a little bit better car than that at times. You know, we just had tough deal on restarts. We would always get the top line, which was bad, and you know, we got blocked in on pit road just about every time, and that cost us a few spots as well. So that it made for a tough day track position-wise. I thought that, you know, if we could have just gained a couple spots here and there on runs and then pit stops, we would, you know, our car was much better in clean air. So we just kept, you know, gaining a little, losing a little bit on pit road, and that was frustrating. But you know, still a decent day for our FedEx office team. You know, our Camrys obviously were good. Carl got the win, which is great for JGR, and hopefully we'll go to Phoenix and try to get a win there.
Fast forward for us, they're 2 points below the cut line now in 6th place.
You know, anytime I've been below on an elimination race, I found a way to get in the final, in the elimination race. So, you know, I like our chances. It's a pressure race, and I like pressure.
Denny, lean on that positive history, guys.
Coming up next, it's the NASCAR America post-race show presented by Advance Auto Parts. And Carl Edwards, even though he is now celebrating, once again, this is the 4th win at Texas for Carl Edwards. He did have the opportunity to put his name over in the championship 4 slot. So only 2 drivers now guaranteed to fight for a champion. Well, Carl Edwards thinks he's already the champion, or at least he put his name over there in jest. We'll be back. Welcome to NASCAR America post-race show presented by Advanced Auto Parts. It turned into a night race at Texas Motor Speedway, and ultimately, after the rain delayed the start of the race by almost 5.5 hours, rain ended the race as well. It ended up being Carl Edwards who was out front, and he got his 4th career Texas Motor Speedway win, but more importantly, he now has the opportunity to race for a championship at Homestead Miami Speedway, and the championship standings just got tighter. So 2 drivers, Jimmy Johnson and Carl Edwards, they're guaranteed a spot in the championship 4. The remaining 6 drivers all will be fighting for the last 2 spots.
Yeah, the concern you have, you're right, for these drivers, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, they could look at it that there's 2 spots to divide up between the 4 of them, but I don't think that's a wise idea, because when you look down in 7th, Kevin Harvick, minus 18, has won 5 of the last 6 at Phoenix. It took rain in the desert last year for him to be beaten, so he has to be a favorite in that race. If he can get to victory lane, now you have all of those guys racing for 1 spot in the points.
Just moments ago, Marty Snyder caught up with Kyle Busch.
So much adversity for the 18 this weekend, but they still wind up finishing top 5. Kyle, how key was the end of that race and your pit crew tonight too, with fixing the hole in the front of the car and also the pit stops?
Yeah, that was a hard fought top 5 right there. That was a battle for sure, by myself behind the wheel, but of course also my pit crew doing a great job being able to get the tape on the nose and fix that earlier in the race, and of course Adam, just some great calls being able to fix that car. You know, it was a handful for sure early on, but we made it a heck of a lot better there at the end. So I just wish that those long runs were actually real long runs. You know, we had so many sets of tires tonight that everybody was short pitting the long runs and only running 40 laps instead of what a fuel window was about 53 or 55 laps. So I couldn't make up the time that I wanted to on the long runs against those guys. So, you know, I wish we could have ran a little bit longer there. I felt like we had a top 3 car, but also, you know, we gained points on the 20, we gained points on the 11 tonight. So, again, can't say enough about this M&M's Camry. Guys did a great job. We come out here with a top 5. That's what we were hoping for. Certainly wish it was a little higher, but keeps us in the game, gives us a good perspective for going into next week.
How do you feel about things at Phoenix? It's a racetrack where JGR has worked very hard on improving.
Yeah, that's the key right there, is we've worked a ton about everywhere, but especially Phoenix and getting better there. And Carl almost won that race in the spring, so good job to the 19 bunch getting themselves back in the game here tonight. You know, that gives one Gibbs car for sure going to Homestead. We'd like to make it 2 more, but
All in all, you know, we've had a good season this season. Good to see Carl win here, get himself back in. But, you know, we want to be one of the other Gibbs cars that get to go there at Homestead as well to battle this out.
Well, the weekend didn't start well for the 18, but it ends well with the top 5 here at Texas.
It was a 7th place finish today for Matt Kenseth, which puts you just 1 point behind your teammate Kyle Busch on that cutoff line. You used at one point the word cattywampus. What kind of a day was it for you out there?
Yeah, we were just kind of, you know, middle of the road. We qualified halfway decent. We kept that track position. Jason did a good job. One time we pitted early and got a few spots and got up to 5th. You know, but then we just got behind, you know, on the second last pit stop. And when I get behind people, we just were kind of mediocre. I just couldn't really pass anybody, but if you put me in line in 5th, I could run 5th. So unfortunately, a couple of those guys got in front of me, and I couldn't get back around them. So we had a good stop our last one, had a good restart, got a couple spots back, but that was about all I could get.
As anticipated, it's going to be quite a battle between you and some of your teammates to get into that championship 4. How do you like your chances as you move forward to Phoenix?
Well, you never know what's going to happen. I would have loved to win last week. I would have loved to win this week, and I'd really love to win next week. So, I mean, that's the plan every week is you show up and try to win. You know, obviously Kevin is, you know, dominant. It's an understatement for Phoenix, so you almost have to pencil him in for that 3rd spot. So, really, I feel like the rest of us are fighting for that 4th spot next week. So, you know, we're just going to have to go there. It hasn't necessarily been our best track, but we've ran pretty well there lately. So, we just got to go there with the idea of trying to win a race, try to lead some laps, get some bonus points, and, you know, hopefully get a good enough finish.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Heard from a couple of the Chase drivers as we continue with post-race coverage from the track. NASCAR America. Let's take a look at tonight's Advanced Auto Parts back on the road moments. The tense pit crews knowing they have to have a great stop. Martin Truex Jr. in front of the 19 of Carl Edwards when they come onto pit road, and then a nearly flawless stop for Carl Edwards and 19 team. Race off pit road, won by Carl Edwards and the 19 team, and now he's shooting the 6 shooters in victory lane. And that's a huge accomplishment for this team who knew coming in that they were in a hole and had to do something. And when it came down to it, Jeff, as you mentioned during the show, that crew knew they had to have a near perfect, if not perfect stop, and they accomplished it. They did exactly what they had to do to get their driver out in front. As they came off of pit road, Carl Edwards then was able to hang on to that lead and win the race.
That's what's great about this chase format. It puts these teams and drivers into situations where they have to perform. And when they perform, they're greatly rewarded. And when they don't advance. So when the pressure's on, 19 cars stepped up.
Did a spectacular job. Not only the crew, but once again, the driver had to have a great restart and stay out in front, get out in front of Martin Truex Jr. He was able to do it, as well as stay in front of Joey Logano. And he gets into victory lane. And of course, we'd like to now welcome in Carl to victory lane and the broadcast. Carl Edwards, congratulations, your 4th win at Texas, and I'm guessing this one probably as sweet as any win you've ever had.
Yeah, this is great. My guys stepped up when we needed to. We did what we had to do. We got a little bit lucky with the rain, but really it's about my pit crew. They delivered all night, and when it counted, they were able to do it. So just great night for everybody. TRD, Toyota. Told those Sport Clips folks I needed to get a haircut. I was kind of ashamed of wearing the Sport Clips and not having my haircut, but they said I'm allowed to go another couple weeks. It's good luck, so hopefully we can take this to Homestead.
So, Carl, how about that move getting on the pit road? You got on the outside of Martin Truex Jr. That was an aggressive move. Talk to us about that.
I'm just having fun, really. I mean, we were having a blast race, and I started to finally get that the high side to work a little bit. And then we had to pit, and I thought, well, man, this is no fun. So then I thought Martin slowed down a little bit early, being careful like he should have been. And I thought, I'm going to try to get around him. And that's a lot of fun. You know, this we've been through the pressure-packed situations enough. Everybody on this crew knows that these are rare opportunities to go out and try to perform. But I made a deal that for me, I wasn't going to let it stress me out. I was going to try to have a really good time tonight, and I did, and I just enjoyed it.
Well, you mentioned pressure-packed situations in a couple weeks in Miami. I can't imagine a more pressure-packed situation. But after 2011, that amazing run you had there, tying in the points, you have to be looking forward to getting back to Miami.
From the moment that checkered flag fell in 2011, I could not wait to get another opportunity. Those weeks leading up to that, all the talk back and forth, all the pressure, it was mounting, and then we sat on the pole. We led the most laps, and Tony beat us that night. But standing right there while I was talking to him in the car, man, I said, "Enjoy this. I hope you really enjoy it." And all I could think was, man, I hope I get that opportunity again. It's been 5 years, and I'm ready to go. I mean, I want to do this. And tonight was good practice. We had to perform. We were able to, and I'm sure this group can do it again.
And that situation that you were in 2011, the tiebreaker actually came down to the wins. Yeah. And Tony went on a run, obviously, in the last 10 races, won 5 of those races. Now the situation when you get to Homestead Miami Speedway is you have 3 other guys that you're going to be competing against for the championship. All you have to do there is finish in front of those 3. Do you think you can win that race at Homestead Miami Speedway to win this championship?
That sounds pretty simple, but it's not going to be simple. It's going to be crazy, and it's fun, man. It's you know, we talk a lot about that 2011 run. That was the most fun I'd had in a race car that last month. You know, and to be able to go to Homestead and race against 3 other guys that are the best in the sport. All of these guys in the chase are performing so well. It's going to be a battle, and whoever wins it's going to really deserve it. It's going to be special, and I hope our 19 team can do that.
So, Carl, this chase format has really put the pressure on teams, and you had a lot of pressure on you and your team tonight. Do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy knowing going to Homestead? You got it's 0-0 between the 4 of you. Is that something you relish, or you kind of dread that pressure?
I'm going to tell you that 1 week ago I wasn't a big fan, but I'm enjoying it right now. It's it gives you an opportunity to go do what we did tonight, and it gives you an opportunity. You know, you can say what you want about this format, but if you can go out and win, if you can do it, it gives you an opportunity to move forward. And this is the first time I've been in this situation and been able to capitalize on it, and it's really fun. So, so yeah, I'm enjoying it right now.
Well, I want to look at even more global level. Joe Gibbs Racing as a whole, so dominant in the regular season, winless to this point in the chase, in the playoffs. You break through, get that first win for Joe Gibbs Racing. How has the pressure been? We've seen the 4 Gibbs cars work so well together. How has that had to change, or has it changed throughout the chase?
No, we had great talks this week, and just like always, you know, it was kind of blown out of proportion a little bit this week just because of some of the frustration after Martinsville, but those things got nipped in the bud. They were done, and we're going to be a unified front as best we can. But I got the best teammates in the business. They make me better. I'm a better race car driver now because of those 3 guys, and I'm just glad to be a part of the group. And I'm going to imagine that at Homestead I'm going to have to beat at least one of those guys to win the championship. So I know I've got my work cut out for me, but Toyota, TRD, everyone, we keep it you know, as team-oriented as we can.
All right, Carl, I know you probably won't tell us exactly what was discussed in that meeting that you had, drivers only and Joe Gibbs sitting in there, but will you try to help your teammates at Phoenix to get into the chase? Now there's 2 spots remaining. Would you want it to be 2 of your teammates who are probably the best in the business right now that you're racing against at Homestead?
I really think that goes beyond what you should do. I think that goes beyond the spirit of the sport. And Joe Gibbs has always said this, look, we compete. We compete against one another. And if you haven't noticed that, we compete pretty hard. So, no, I don't plan on going to Phoenix and doing anything special other than trying to win that race. We'd really like to win that one before we go to Homestead. And, yeah, once the race starts, we race each other pretty hard.
So, Carl, this is what have you done for me lately in sport.
Yeah.
What do you think of Homestead? Is that a place where you feel like you can go and you can win? Is it a strong track for you? And what are the challenges for you and your team in particular at that racetrack?
For me personally, you got to excuse me, I have a ton of confidence right now. I'm feeling really good.
And should be.
Can't imagine why.
I'm pretty excited to go to Homestead. There's no, I think statistically there's no better track for me than Homestead. And we had a good test there. I feel pretty good about it.
My question is no backflip. I've followed your career. I've raced to get you in the ground. This is the first time I haven't seen the signature Carl Edwards backflip. I had to agree with the weather situation, but is that like a double backflip at Homestead? How does this work?
Yeah, I don't know. There was one at Milwaukee I didn't do because I was kind of ashamed of how I passed Clint Boyer to get the win. But this one just, it didn't feel right. I felt like good chance of falling down, and that would be a bad way to end the night. But maybe 2 more this year would be good.
And Carl, I'm just going to let you know, and you probably already know this, but when you go to Homestead Miami Speedway, it's the same tire compound that you just won the race at Texas Motor Speedway on. So you've got to have that as confident, if you need any more confidence, which I'm guessing you don't right now. But that's got to make you feel pretty good as well.
Yeah, no, maybe I should have done the backflip and fell down because my head's a little big. The hat didn't fit right, all that stuff. But yeah, I feel really, really good about going to Homestead. I can't wait.
Congratulations, Carl. Enjoy this and enjoy Phoenix. It's going to be a little easier going to Phoenix knowing that you're locked into Miami.
Yeah, no, it's going to be cool, and I owe the 6 shooters to Jeff Adcock out there. He works at the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department. His father passed away. He was a huge single-shot 6-shooter fan or single-action fan, and I promised him these guns, so we're going to ship them out there to Arizona. It's going to be really cool.
Very classy move. Thanks a lot, Carl.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's take a look at Carl Edwards and what he had to do today. This is actually all the way back to Martinsville last week.
Yeah, it started with the speeding penalty early in the race and then running very hard, trying to recover for that. Has a little bit of issue with the right front tire, heavy contact, and lost a tremendous amount of points.
And now, right now, they know they're in a must-win situation. Joe Gibbs has his head in the window, giving him some motivational words. And, they came here and performed. They knew they had their backs against the wall. They had to make something happen. They did everything they had to do, and now they're going to Homestead with a chance to win the championship.
And how difficult it was for Carl Edwards. As you mentioned, coming into this race, a must-win situation, and then it rains. And he has to wait for 5.5 hours before the green flag actually flies. But now he's in a situation where his name has been moved over to the championship for only 2 spots left.
Well, and I think what Carl Edwards did tonight was so special is it took all aspects. While the pit crew got him the spot off pit road, the team itself made adjustments to the car as well. It wasn't just the pit stop that won them the race. They had a better car when they needed it. They found a little bit more pace to keep up with some of those cars. So he has to feel great about his opportunity.
Yeah, now we know going to Homestead, we have Jimmy Johnson going for his 7th and Carl Edwards going for his 1st. So 2 of the 4, completely different ends of the spectrum, right? But they're big for both because one is 7 and one is the 1st.
And so hungry is Carl Edwards after missing out on his first championship in a tiebreaker back in 2011. Well, team owner, the coach, was caught up to by Mike Massaro just moments ago.
Yeah, and he was hard to chase down. Lots of people to thank and congratulate here in Victory Lane for sure, Rick. We just saw a flashback to last week. How would you describe the swing of emotions between Martinsville and Texas?
Well, I think that's why we love pro sports. Last week, it was the agony of defeat. I walk over to the car, it's all tore up, and Carl said, hey, we're going to win next week. But, it took a monumental effort tonight. A great job with Dave getting the car ready. I felt like great pit stops all night and gradually worked his way to the front, and then a heck of a job of driving once he got there. Just a thrill for us. Everybody back home, JD, everybody at the race shop, thanks so much. And then our sponsors, when you think about this, tonight it was Sports Clips, but this is an Aris car. It's a Subway car and Stanley Black & Decker. All those guys are going to get to go to Homestead.
And you're going to get to go to Homestead, too, with at least 1 car now, perhaps 2 more. What does this mean to you?
Well, it's just, I get the biggest kick out of our total team. That's everybody back at the race shop, 550 people that work so hard during the week. And a lot of them don't get to enjoy this, but I think it's total team effort. I enjoy the people, and you get to go to Homestead, and everybody that gets to go with you, the sponsors. I love the people part of it and the sponsors that play such a big deal in our sport. They're actually in the sport. They're on the cars. They're going around for 3.5 hours tonight with Sport Clips. And so it'll be a thrill for all of them to get to go to Homestead with Carl.
Of course, the goal is to put 3 of your cars in the championship for next week. You still got a shot to put another 2 there. What do you anticipate next week being like for you and your other crew, your other teams?
Yeah, I know that we'll do a great job of preparing, but we're going up against some tough cars too. Next week will be a battle. I think the fans will love it. Everybody at Phoenix, and I'm sure we'll have a packed house. Everybody on TV, it's going to be a big deal. I can tell you that. So we're going to go as hard as we can go.
I know last week in Martinsville there was some frustration behind closed doors. There were some meetings. What did you think of the way they came out this week as a unified team?
I felt like these guys, I got to tell you, all year, all 4 of our drivers, egos aside, sharing, you know, the things they can share, but yet each one of them trying to win every single race. And so when that happens, you're going to have, from time to time, they're going to be battling each other. And so I think it was a great sit down last week. The guys did a great job talking it over. And I felt like we went straight into our technical meeting. They did a great job. And then I think we showed up down here ready to go race. And then, you know, you don't picture that Carl's going to have that kind of a night. It was unbelievable.
And you still got 2 more races of excitement. Congratulations, Coach.
Hey, thank you. We're thrilled. We love coming to Dallas. We had 6 hospitalities today. Everybody, all of our sponsors were here. It was a thrill.
How about that, Rick? A Redskins coach saying he loves coming to Dallas.
Yeah, I'm guessing that doesn't get said very often, but the coach obviously enjoying the fact that now one of the 4 cars that he owns is locked into the championship 4. The other driver that is currently locked into the championship 4 with the win at Martinsville a week ago, standing by with Kelly.
Well, a potential strategy call at the end of the race cost Jimmy Johnson a handful of positions, but you got this car to be running up inside the top 6. What did you guys learn today that might help you a couple weeks down the road in Miami?
I think we need to go racing. Let's drive this place and go. We've been here all night already. Yeah, the day race conditions, I think we were just set up more for that. We were making some headway on it and getting closer to the front, but you know, we felt like the rain shower was going to be quick, which it was, and it's gone. But they decided to call it. So, and I get it. It took a long, long time to drive this place earlier. So, with nothing on the line really for us this weekend, we decided to do something different with the low Chevy there on pit strategy, and just didn't work out.
What about as far as car strategy and what adjustments you guys were making? Were you guys trying to learn little things throughout the day that could work in Miami?
Yeah, I mean, there's some that you can take over. We expected a day race, and our setup certainly reflected that. So when it went to a night race, we knew we were going to have to work on it throughout the night. It was a bigger challenge to get it underneath me than we anticipated, but still a respectable showing. It's hard to say right now if anything's going to transfer to Homestead, but we got a couple weeks to still figure it out.
One race closer to battling it out there for that championship. What are the nerves like?
None yet, and I honestly hope to keep it in a very fun place. I've got nothing to lose in this deal. Very excited about my opportunity to go for a 7th.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks.
Jimmy Johnson will be chasing history. One more stop before he gets that opportunity. That's in Phoenix. Saturday on NBCSN, future stars of the sport, Xfinity Series. That coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Sunday on NBC, the Sprint Cup Chase Elimination Race. That coverage beginning at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. We will wrap things up from Texas after this. Carl Edwards continues to celebrate in Victory Lane. Let's go back to Victory Lane and Mike Massaro.
You know, Rick, when I reminded Dave Rogers this morning that last week Carl said, we just need to go to win in Texas, he said, I like that. Last time he told me something like that was Bristol. You won that day, too. So what do you think of Carl being able to call his shot here today?
That's my driver right there. Carl's a great driver. He's a great friend. What a competitor. But, yeah, he called his shot at Bristol. Bristol, I love Bristol. But it's a hard place for me to race at. The lap times are so fast. So much happens so quick. And he's like, look, don't worry. We're going to go win. It's okay. And soon as Martinsville ended, I'm like, okay, man, we got some work to do. And he's like, don't worry. We're going to go to Texas and win. It's okay. And he's just a great competitor. He's a tremendous talent. He never quits. He's a great leader, and I've learned a ton from him, and I love working with him.
Took a total team effort today. It wasn't just driver. Your guys on pit road got it done, got him the lead. What'd you think of that 11-second pit stop?
How about my pit crew? Not too bad, huh? You know, they're great. This is a total team effort, and that's what makes this so special is, you know, we weren't out, but we were down after Martinsville, and it took everybody to step up and make this happen. And everybody isn't the driver and the crew chief or the driver, crew chief, engineers. It's everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing, you know, everyone at TRD for the motor, the entire pit crew, the road crew, everybody that works at Joe Gibbs Racing or is affiliated Joe Gibbs Racing put effort into this event, and it means so much to represent them and be in a Game 7 situation and come out on top.
Congratulations. Now where's the focus as you go to Phoenix, but really are thinking about Homestead?
Yeah, you're going to be, you know, you want to go to Phoenix and you want to have a good run because you want momentum. It's hard to go and just lay back and then say, okay, we'll get them at Homestead. but you're right. The focus is on Homestead.
They're thinking about it already, Rick. They are among the championship contenders.
And they should be thinking about it. This is a huge feat that they've been able to accomplish.
That's what teamwork's all about. You could hear how proud he was of his team. They stepped up at the right time, how proud he was of his driver. Now they get to go to Homestead with a tremendous amount of momentum.
Yeah, but I do like what he had to say about Phoenix. You know, while they don't need the points, they can take this wave of momentum. Jimmy Johnson won last week. Carl Edwards this week. A good run at Phoenix will help propel this 19 car walking into Homestead with that confidence they'll need.
We've always talked about how much momentum plays into racing, not only on the racetrack, but also the confidence of the drivers and that momentum. Well, coming up next on NBCSN, it's the Mecum Auto Auctions from right here in Dallas. On the track, the race started a little bit late because of rain. The sparks flew. There was definitely some bumping and banging at this mile and a half that's so fast, but ultimately Carl Edwards was able to solidify a position in the championship 4 with his win at Texas.